Do us a quick favor. If you haven't, like the stream already to get us rolling, and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. We got a jam-packed season for you guys. There's going to be a lot of information pouring out as we get closer to training camp. And it's going to be a great season. The more and more we keep hearing from these guys, hitting OTAs, the more and more comfortable I think that we get that we're going to be okay. The great Aaron Rodgers always says, relax, right? No, it's all pun. I'm just kidding. He's not the great anything. We can't stand Aaron Rodgers, but just relax a little bit and just accept the ride. We'll be right back here in about 90 seconds, and we'll get into it.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit.
Corey, good morning, man.
Good morning.
What's happening out west?
It's just getting sunny, and that means I've been up for a while now, which is good. It's good.
So it's always
Get
good to
up
wake
early.
up before the sun, man. If you beat the sun, you're part of that 5 a.m. club. There's nothing better.
Seriously, right?
There's nothing better. It just feels different.
It does.
You actually get tired at night, whereas before I used to be up to like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning writing stuff, and I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
It's probably not the healthiest thing to do when you get older, stay up all night.
As long as you get to bed at a decent hour, waking up is not hard. But yeah, if you try and burn the candle at both ends, yeah, it's bad.
I did for about 18 months, and it crushed me, man. Eric will tell you, I was not feeling well, doing well. You could see, I even had some messages from some of the audience that, man, they're like, dude, you're looking wore out, man. Like, just take some time.
Oh, yeah,
looking
sure.
wore out. Yeah, it definitely shows. So today, OTAs, man, kicked off, and we're going to do a little bit of movie day today. I want to catch up on DJ Reader. He had some really good messaging, not only for Lions fans, but for the team. And I think it was on the 20th of May. So I mean, it's quite a while back. Maybe it was last week, Friday. We'll bring that in at some point. So we'll break it down. And there's a lot of good things that he said in there that I think will help resonate with Lions fans today. On the NFL news side, man, they're already going after, who's going to win the North. Like, there's these rankings that come out, this football power index that comes out, and it's already out. And so I wanted to take a look at that today. Running back rankings we probably won't get to, but I'll just say when we do get to it, I'll leave a cliffhanger. Jahmyr Gibbs should be higher than where he is. Let's just put it that way. I can't believe where they put him and who they put him behind. But maybe that'll be tomorrow. Aiden Hutchinson returns to OTAs. That's big news. Man, there's just a lot happening in Detroit. It's a brand new team, but yet it's the same team. And I think that's going to give us a good opportunity to have some really good conversation this year to see just how well this team develops together. What new pages do they turn? So if you don't have anything you want to get rolling with, we'll just get started with NFL news of the day.
Well, I got a comment. Attila mentioned in the chat. He's like, I'm sure you've already seen, but Vegas has my brother in the running for defensive rookie of the year. I want to see the sources on that. Like anyone could say Vegas. I need to see the numbers, man. I need to see the sources because I would love that to be true. And I would love the stats and data to back it up. I would love for him to be getting enough reps to be in the running. And I think he would be if he gets that opportunity. You know, but that's me talking. I'm his brother. I could call myself Vegas, but that doesn't make it right. So yeah, I would like to see, and I'm not saying you, Attila. I'm saying I just want to know who is saying this, where are they saying it, because I want to read it myself for sure.
I find it interesting, right? So I'm just going to call a spade without calling the individual out. If the brother of the football player doesn't have this information, do I need to finish the rest of the sentence? That's the only thing I'm going to say. If you don't know this, then anybody saying this probably just maybe making stuff up. Allegedly. We'll see if there's an actual source. If it's Vegas, it should be printed somewhere. So I find that interesting. Now, put all that aside, from what we've witnessed of Ahmed's film and what we've heard about Ahmed, I wouldn't be surprised. To your point, though, I think he's got to get the snaps, right? He's got to earn the snaps, and if he gets the snaps, and if he does his thing, this is a loaded defense. So if there's a, I hate to put this on him, if there's a guy drafted in the 6th round that could end up being Defensive Player of the Year, if anyone has an opportunity, it's Ahmed. Because this defense around him is going to help him immensely grow much quicker than I think it happens on other teams. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens here. But
and maybe Vegas is projecting out future injuries because of the past injuries, and therefore that's how he's getting playing time. Who knows? You never really know. But I'm just saying, right? We've heard the injury prone comments. We've heard I saw some stat that said like one of the DNs has never played more than 500 and something snaps in a season. Like that's never a good thing to have attached to your name. Yeah, you guys can look that data up. But I mean, shoot, football is a violent sport. There will always be injuries, and it's the next man up mentality, right? So Ahmed's ready for his time, and when he gets that opportunity, I told him yesterday, I was like, you got to pull a Tom Brady. Dude was waiting in the wings and never let Drew Bledsoe get back in. So when it's your time, you get in there like Tom Brady. You don't let that opportunity slip, and then you solidify your role with the team and in the league and in your future. So we'll see. We will see for sure.
I love it, man. I love that mentality too. So I got a question for Full Slate Farms. Mentions in here that Levi was an All-Pro in 2014. Was he a 6th round pick? DeAndre Levy. Was he a 6th round pick? Is that why he's throwing that in there? I don't remember. That's too long ago for me. Hell, yesterday's too long ago for me.
I have no clue. I wasn't even a Lions fan back then. What do you mean?
All right, yeah, he was a 3rd round.
Been a Lions fan for like 5 minutes,
right? and I'm glad that you have been, because now we get the fresh perspective, right? We don't have the same old Lions fan mentality. You get to see everything fresh. So he was 3rd round pick. So I'm confused as to why we threw that in there, but maybe I missed something in the chat. Anyway, good morning,
Thomas. Yeah, Mr. Thomas in the chat just realized that Ahmed's my brother. And yes, he is much, much larger than I am. We are half brothers. Obviously, the size came from his mom's side, and my good looks came from my mom's side.
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
We each have something. Oh, man.
Oh, I don't have my sound bites up. I needed that one. Where is it? There we go. A little late. We got it.
For sure. I like it.
Or it could have been this one when you said, my good looks. It could have been.
You sure about that?
I thought you were going to go.
You sure about that?
I thought I was going to get a whistle.
I'm totally opposite of all that. What you think you're going to get, you're not going to get.
Oh, yeah. We are off to a running start this morning. All football news. Here we go.
Look, you know what? I'm completely just crushed today. I spent, I don't know, when I got off the show yesterday, I spent the entire day out in the yard, and I think I broke one of my ribs on the left side. So I do not feel great today. Like, I'm just sore everywhere. But Hey, welcome to Getting Old. It's all good, but let's get to some NFL news. ESPN Football Power Index. So I wanted to start with this today simply because this is something that I look at every year, and then it's kind of fun to go back and look what happened the year before that they put it out. Now, I failed you today because I don't have last year's pulled up, so we can't do. Maybe I can roll that tomorrow. Is we'll do the comparison part of it tomorrow. What did they predict last year? Where did it end up? And I think it's a fun exercise. One, I think it puts the checks and balances into, all of the different media out there. And, are they giving us good information? Is it just something, of a fun exercise to do? Do we believe in it a whole lot? For me, I'm going to say no. I don't believe in any of this stuff because there's so many variables in football. And Corey, I think you could obviously, attest to this. There's way too many variables, right? The ball just has to bounce the right way a couple of times for a few teams and totally can change a season. So,
yeah,
let me run through the Football Power Index and the rankings by Seth Walder here. This came out yesterday or 2 days ago, excuse me. ESPN. Eagles at number 1. Are we surprised? Are you surprised?
I'm not.
No,
I'm not. I think
they're the Super
you
Bowl
have
winner.
to give the Super Bowl champs, their respect and they. I mean, we're talking about new coordinators for us, right? Don't they have a new coordinator? Considering they lost theirs to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So, do they get the same? I know Nick Sirianni's there. He just got a new contract. Maybe he's going to take over more of the play calling. But, when Kellen Moore leaves and goes to coach his own team, they're dealing with some of the same stuff we are. So, we'll see.
The only thing I can say about the Eagles is they lost their coordinators a couple of seasons ago, and we saw what happened to them. And I think that there's been, some parity being projected with the Lions. And I'm going to squash that right now. And so I'm glad you brought that up. Sidebar for a moment, people. Sidebar. The Detroit Lions lose both their coordinators this last season. The Eagles lost their coordinators prior to 2023, I believe, right? And in 2023, they had a down year. They did not have a good year at all. 2024, though, they bounce back, they win a Super Bowl. What a lot of the conversation is right now is that the Lions are going to do the same thing, that they're going to drop off the face of the earth in 2025 and then bounce back when these new coordinators settle in. Not going to happen. And here's why. Calvin Shepard has been with this team for several seasons now. To think that you're going to have a let-off on this defense, not going to happen. We didn't lose a bunch of players on this team. And we have a coordinator that's been around since day one of Dan Campbell running the ship. John Morton was with this team back in 21. So he understands the vibe of this team and where it's going. He understands Dan Campbell. The support staff beyond them, we lost some support staff. We lost some assistant coaches. I think we replaced them with as good, if not better. I think the most important thing is that Mark Brunell stayed, Hank Fraley stayed. I think we got a better running backs coach. In my opinion, we're not going to have a drop-off like the Eagles did.
Well, actually, when I'm looking it up, because I could have sworn Kellen Moore was only there for a year, and I'm looking that up, and actually he was. He replaced Brian Johnson after the 2023 season. So they did have a down year in 2023, and they hired Kellen Moore in 2024, and he took him to a Super Bowl. By riding the back of Saquon. So there's data that shows that a new coordinator on a new team coming in can win a Super Bowl. So Lions fans, be excited.
You keep hearing all this negative doom and gloom about it, but for me, I love the idea of we replaced coordinators because our team was great. This is not replacing coordinators because your team sucked, right? That's what old Lions used to be. New coordinators every 2 years, new coaches, 2.5 years on average. No, not anymore. We've got coaches in place now for 5 seasons. Many coordinators and coaching staff in place for 4 seasons and beyond now. We replaced coordinators because our team was great. And I think that's going to give us an opportunity to do some things different that in these first, 4, 5, 6 games of the season, we're coming out of left field at these teams. They don't know who we are. They know who we are to a degree, right? But they don't know what what schematic changes we're going to have. And now all of the language has changed. So
Yeah.
that's the hardest part. Let's be honest, Corey. Every team runs the same stuff.
Yeah.
Every team runs the same stuff. It's just called different.
Yep.
Maybe it's out of a different formation. You know, you can run 11 personnel all day long, but make it look different on every other play. So it's how you set up the play and how you call the play, but it's the language that if the defense doesn't catch on to the language, you're good, right? And then as you get through the season, if you don't think the teams are not identifying and studying the language, they are, because they want to hear those calls by Jared Goff at the line, or they want to hear the calls by Ragnow at the line on the offensive side of the football. And then on the defensive side of the football, it's the same thing. They pick up on your language, and then they think they know what you're doing. But if you can change that language up a little bit mid-season, you stay ahead of the curve. Am I right or wrong on that assessment?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think one of the things to take note of is the familiarity, like you were mentioning before. Kelvin Shepard, right, knows the personnel, knows the scheme, knows what guys do well. And I know John Morton was with the Broncos for the last 2 years, but before that, he was with the Lions. And so his choice to come back to the Lions as the offensive coordinator has to do with his familiarity with the program, with the way the organization is run, and with the personnel, right? He knows Jared Goff. He knows, some of the weapons around him, and yeah, he's got an embarrassment of riches as far as like offensive weapons. And I think, as an offensive coordinator, you want to come in and play with all the tools that you have at your disposal. And it's a great sign for the team and for the future. And with you change terminology and you change a couple things about the scheme, it can look a lot different, while still remaining, the same in the core. And I think it's going to be, any great team is led by the leadership of the players. And I think there's enough, senior, like seniority and experienced vets within the Lions organization that will, keep the ship sailing steady and on that road towards the Lombardi Trophy for sure. So
I wholeheartedly agree. And King SJ, I don't know the answer to that question about, he asked if the coordinators were promoted to new coordinators within a couple of years. So let me read that.
The Eagles?
Yeah, he says, not disagreeing about our new coordinators, but do you know if Philly promoted new coordinators within a couple of years ago? Could you clarify that for me, King? I'm not sure that I understand that fully. Do you understand it, Corey?
I think he's saying, Brian Johnson was maybe, promoted from within and then fired, and then they hired Kellen Moore. And so maybe he's like kind of, weighing out, like what we did versus what Philly did, hiring from the outside in. But I mean, you can consider John Morton an outside hire, considering he was with the Broncos last year, and he did good things with Bo Nix. And how much was that him, and how much was that Sean Payton? All right, we saw a bunch of targets to the running backs, Javonte Williams last year for the Broncos. He's now with the Cowboys, so we'll see if that keeps up. Sean Payton has always been known to target his running backs, so was that a John Morton thing, or was that a Sean Payton offensive mind thing? We're going to see. It's not like he doesn't have running backs who can catch in the backfield in Detroit. So, yeah, I think that would be a good problem to have. We will see, though, what his style of play calling looks like. So.
I'm excited to see what happens. But anyway, we got through one of the football index rankings. The Eagles, right? They're atop the list because they should be. The Chiefs right behind them at number 2. I would agree with this only because, look, they've gone to 3 Super Bowls in a row. They've won 2 of them. They still are a dynamic team. They're still led by the same head coach. They still have the same quarterback. Travis Kelce, I think he's starting to fade off a little bit, questioning retirement. This may be his last season, but the group, right? The Chiefs group is the center, the core of that group is still there. The Ravens, I don't know of another better regular season team right now than the Ravens, other than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I guess I could put them there ahead of the Lions. I think that if you beat the Ravens, a couple seasons ago, maybe they would have the Lions ahead, but the Lions are just 0.4 of a point behind. So the way that this is organized is by a point system, and the Eagles are plus 5.5. The Chiefs are right behind them at plus 5.4. That I would disagree with. I think the Chiefs are a little bit further back than the Eagles. Ravens at 5.2 and the Lions at 4.8 at number 4, ahead of the Bills. What's your thought process there? Ahead of the Bills. I mean, we got the crap kicked out of us last year by the Bills. We hung with them, but we got smoked a little bit. We didn't have a defense in that game. What's your thought process there with the Lions being ahead of the Bills?
I think we're right where we should be. We are on an upward trajectory. The Bills have not shown that they can do it, right? And like finish the season on top. I think the Chiefs, like you were talking about, the Chiefs and the Ravens, I can understand why they're up there. But I can also understand why we are above the Bills and the Commanders and those other teams. What's funny, and one of the things that jumped out to me right away was that we play the 3 teams ahead of us this season. So it's going to be a great way to kind of decide if these rankings, and I'm not sure I buy into power rankings as well because they're constantly fluctuating during the season. Yep. So how much do you really know preseason? I don't know. But, they definitely will change. And after each game, right, when we play the Eagles, when we play the Chiefs, when we play the Ravens, those things can change. And you might see the Lions up at the top at some point during the season. And not like it matters, because the only thing that matters is what happens on the field. But it's kind of nice to see your name up at the top of some preseason rankings, because it shows that other people believe in what the Lions are doing. And no matter what the changes that are going on, in coordinators or, personnel, it's showing that, they believe that the culture is going to be consistent and that will be winning more games than not. So, yeah, I think I agree that we are stronger, preseason than the Bills, just because, did the Bills really add any more weapons to their arsenal that they didn't already have? I don't think they did. The Chiefs did. The Chiefs added a couple receivers that I think are weapons, and they reloaded what they already had. But I don't necessarily think the Bills have any dominant offensive weapons. And although their running back had a great season last year, they didn't re-sign him or restructure his contract, extend him. So I think he wants more money than they're willing to give him, and I think that's James Cook. He had a ridiculous amount of touchdowns, and that variance that comes in football. It's not basketball. It's not baseball, right? Where we have tons of possessions and tons of games to kind of see the statistics play out. Football is a very, hit or miss games. And like you said, like you can have a season like last year where you get a bunch of injuries, and then all of a sudden, like everything's off the tracks, right? And you got to recover and make do with what you got. But that changes the entire trajectory of your season. And so these power rankings are great. I love it, but I love to see us up towards the top. But I want to see what the product on the field looks like before I trust anyone else's judgment.
I'm pretty confident in the product. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. Our offense, is intact, right? We didn't have a bunch of injuries on the offensive side of the football, and hopefully done this year. But I will say this: we play 7 of the top 10 on this list. So Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Commanders, Bengals, Packers, Rams, all in the top 10. Commanders at 6 behind the Bills, Bengals at 7, Packers at 8, Chargers at 9, Rams at 10. You were saying, like, who did the Bills really add? Offensively, they didn't add really much, but I will say this: they ended up snagging two of my favorite players, two of my like top 10, top 15 favorite players out of the draft. And that's defensive tackle
Landon Jackson.
Do what?
Don't tell me Landon Jackson.
Okay, I won't tell you Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson and TJ Sanders. Look, I love Landon Jackson. I absolutely love his effort on the field, man. And I think that it's going to be fun to watch what he does too. And TJ Sanders, look, he was right behind Tyleik Williams for me. Right behind Tyleik. And if the Lions didn't get Tyleik, I would have been very happy that we would have got TJ Sanders. And I think TJ didn't he go to the Bills in the first round? I think he did. Didn't he go at like 32 or something like that? Maybe. What's funny is, a lot of people were poo-pooing, what I was putting out there for mock drafts, and a lot of guys went right where I put them. And I think it's because when you watch film, it's different than reading what people write, right? You got to watch film. And I just wish that I had more film. I wish I had more of the cut-ups. And Caddy does a great job getting us film to be able to watch. He was drafted, round 2, pick 9. So
they took the corner from I think from Kentucky Harrison. With the first round pick, and then they went TJ Sanders in the second and edge Landon Jackson in third. I don't know if you saw you had to have seen the video of high school Landon Jackson doing the bag drills.
Yeah. I thought that was a spoof.
No, it was not.
Right. I thought that was a spoof. I showed that to Eric, and I think I showed it to Riley, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, Landon Jackson, I think is a measurable guy, right? Tall, seemingly explosive. He jumped off the page in the combine and had some really good, numbers. But I gotta say, I was watching all the defensive ends very, very, closely because I wanted to see the competition and, where my brother, matched up. And I wasn't impressed with Landon Jackson. He just didn't have the bend that I thought he, obviously he's a much taller dude. But
your brother was super low to the ground.
Yeah. I don't know if he has that bend. And then I saw him at some clips in the Senior Bowl, and he was not performing like I would expect a third round defensive end to perform. So, I mean,
his combine was off the charts, though.
Yeah, and that's why.
And some of the film that I watched, I mean, I really did like the work that he put in. It took him a few years to get there, right? Yeah. This is a culmination, like the high school thing. Like, I'll bring it up tomorrow. I'll get the video. We'll break it down tomorrow. And
it is what it is.
So someone sent it to me, and I thought it was a spoof, and I'm not even going to say why because it's like cancel culture if I were to say what was said to me. And I don't want to repeat it. So We'll watch it tomorrow, and you guys can judge for yourself or evaluate for yourself where he was then, where he is now. But anyway, where I was going with this is the Bills went all defense. They got Deone Walker. They got Jordan Hancock, Dorian Strong. They did add an offensive tackle in Chase Lund, and that's about it. Or a wide receiver, Caden Prather. Tight end, Jason Hawes. But other than that, they went deep, 5 players on defense in this draft. So it'll be interesting to see because their defense was good at times last year. Wasn't great. Obviously, a good offense like the Lions or great offense like the Lions. I mean, we were running race cars all over the field with them and hanging with them. It was a high-scoring affair. If we had our defense to start the season, much different outcome, I think. So to round out this top 10, like I said, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Bills, Commanders, Bengals, Packers, Chargers, Rams, Lions play 7 of 10 to start the season. This was an interesting one for me, though. The 49ers at 11, above the Broncos and the Texans. That doesn't belong there. I'm sorry. The 49ers completely fell apart last year. They've lost, darn near their entire offense, right? They have Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy left. George Kittle, but Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel gone. I don't think they've done enough offensively to stay at the top here or the top half of the league. Your thoughts on that, and then we'll move on to our second subject here.
Yeah, I think one of the things to note is they're both, the 49ers and the Broncos are both at plus 1.3. So I guess those are 2 interchangeable spots. Either one could be at 11 or 12. And then you got the Texans right behind them at 0.09 or 0.9 and 0.9 for the Bucks too. So those 2 could be interchanged. And so, yeah, I think, it's a lot of, parity there in the middle. Any of those teams could go up or down. So one of the things I noticed is pretty much our entire division is in the top half of the league. Right. Yeah. So, that'll be interesting. The Bears round out at number 16 and then the Vikings are right above them. So we know that our schedule is going to be tough. We know we have some competitive games both within the division and outside of the division. It's going to be a great, like I always keep saying, it's a great measuring stick for this team. And if we want to win a Super Bowl, you got to beat the best if you want to be the best. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the Lions take care of business with some of these top teams and move up that power ranking, even though there's only a couple spots to move up. But I expect them to do that. So yeah,
I do too. Little housekeeping before we get into our second topic of the day. As soon as I can find my.
Nick P says Ayuk is still a Niner. Ayuk might not play for the first half of the season.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he's got a was it ACL or Achilles?
Yeah.
What is he battling?
I'm not exactly sure what the injury was, but it's going to take some time to rehab. Ricky Pearsall, their rookie from last year, who didn't get much playing time until halfway through the season because he got shot.
Yeah,
which is as good a reason as any to miss some time.
He looked really good
in
though.
some spots. Yeah,
He looked
they have
really
Juwan
good.
Jennings, who has been consistent when he's gotten playing time. And if Christian McCaffrey can get back to his old self, I think that's a weapon with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays that you can never count out. And so I think that's probably what they're doing with those power rankings, just putting the 49ers up there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, good comment here by Peter, and then we'll move off of this one. But he was saying how weak that the 49ers schedule is. So, I mean, that would probably make sense if they're doing a power index based on weight of schedule and the team itself. It would make sense to put them up there. But I think from an overall, how good is the team going to be? If you were to put them against our schedule, they're probably going to win 3 games. But I guess that's a benefit of finishing at the bottom of the league and having a weak schedule. So a little bit of house cleaning here before we move on to the next one. Okay, there's about 120 people in right now, and I'm going to ask you guys to do me a huge favor, and that's like the stream right now. It really helps the algorithm. I haven't been doing a ton of videos, which pulls me out of the algorithm, but the morning show is very important. It's very important we do it every single week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m., and glad that you're all here with us. But ads, if you want ads off and you're not paying for YouTube Premium, as long as we get to 75% or at least 75 likes during the live stream, we turn ads off for the rest of the show, and then we turn it on for like the last minute before we end the show. So that is a benefit that we give back to you guys. That's about $6,000 to $7,000 a year that we give away that doesn't end up in the Rockhound Cancer Foundation Fund. But we do that to help you guys have a seamless transition because ads suck. So do us a favor, subscribe, and be part of the journey. If you haven't figured it out by now, Corey Besh is Ahmed Hassanen's brother, and we're so grateful to have him part of the show. And so, yeah, you get the inside takes from somebody that's really close to what's happening in the NFL as well. So, Corey, next up, you had the next topic. So go ahead and roll with what you
let me
had.
introduce this here. So PFF just released early this morning, so it's hot off the press, that they put their NFL roster rankings out, including the strengths, weaknesses, and X factors for every team's starting lineup. And they kind of power ranked them as well. And so, unsurprisingly, you have 2 of the ESPN power ranking teams up at the top. They put us 1 rank higher than the power rankings did. So the first, they had the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, reigning Super Bowl champs. They talked about their strengths and weaknesses. And then the Baltimore Ravens were right behind them. 2 of the teams, those bird teams that we get to play today. I'll take a lion over a bird any day, even though the bird can fly away, but that's considered retreating. So good. Go ahead and fly away. We will we'll just handle business. But we were number 3 in PFF's power rankings. And so they told us a little bit about why they put us up there near the top based on our starting lineups. And the first was, they said, our biggest strength in 2024 was our offensive line. They said after leading the league in PFF overall grade in 2023, the offensive line finished second behind Atlanta in 2024. Led by arguably the best tackle in the NFL, Penei Sewell. The Lions continue to maul opponents. Get it? Maul, because we're Lions. Opponents to the ground while protecting Jared Goff in the pocket. Although we lost our quote-unquote mastermind offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, it still looks like our offensive line is the solid foundation to start the running attack and move forward into 2025. So that's our biggest strength last year was our offensive line. I think it's, again, going to be a strength this year. What do you think?
Offensive line is definitely going to be a strength. It has been for 4 or 5 seasons now. And Hank Fraley sticking around. The Lions added, Tate Rowledge to this, which I think Tate's going to slide right in and start week 1, barring an injury. I think that he's going to be in there, probably at the right guard. I would love to see him at left guard, though, just simply because I think Graham Glasgow will play better on the right side. But the Lions did a lot to ensure that the trenches remain the consistent, plus factor for this team. And, further and beyond that, it's the depth, right? You added Miles Frazier. You still have Giovanni Manu from a season ago. And then Christian Mahogany, who graded out as one of the best guards. Again, short window of snaps, though. I think it was like 50, 60 snaps last season, but was grading out as one of the best guards on the team. So it'd be interesting to see where he develops this year. But this offensive line's not going anywhere. It's going to be the strength of this team. And it's obviously what helps Jahmyr Gibbs do what he does and Jared Goff having the protection to get that ball downfield.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when the identity of your team starts with your two running backs, Sonic and Knuckles, right? With Demo and Jahmyr, like that, you better have a dang good offensive line because that's what we want to do is we want to run the ball down your throat time and time again, and then play action off that and let Jared Goff have a clean pocket and get the ball downfield to his playmaker. So either way, you need that offensive line, and any good football coach knows that if you don't have a good line on offense or defense, you're not doing anything. So, I agree that that's a strength, and it's as good a strength as any. Like, you could have a great receiving core, but if you don't have an offensive line, how are you going to get to the ball to them? And so I think, it's a great strength to have, and I think it is no doubt our strength on the team. Then we get into our biggest weakness last year, and you guys can all guess, it was the defensive line depth, and that's what PFF said as well. They said Detroit's championship fate may have completely changed when our star, Aiden Hutchinson, went down with a week 6 season-ending injury. And then they note that we didn't have the depth up front to overcome that injury from our best player. And from that week on, from 7 onward, the Lions ranked 27th in the NFL with a 61.8 team PFF pass rush grade. So we obviously had some holes to fill. And I know we brought in Z, and he did a fairly good job, taking over the reins when Aiden went down, but no one could replace his production. And we talked about that the other day. He was on pace for like the most ridiculous numbers if he would have, kept that pace going. I don't think that's realistic. You had mentioned he was going against some, second and third team tackles at that time. And
third and fourth.
Oh, third and fourth. Jiminy Christmas. I was, giving him too much credit.
It just seemed like every week. Sorry, not to interrupt you. It seemed like every week that Aiden had a matchup, man, did he get blessed with an opportunity. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Aiden, because what a great player does is when you have an inferior matchup, you better beat the bricks off of them, right? I mean, you should. And that's what he did. So it just seemed like every week that it lined up for him, the other team was having massive offensive line issues. What week did he have 3 sacks in the one game? I don't remember now. But go back and look at their offensive line issues that they had. It was massive. And look,
the Bucks, or
it could have been the Bucks. We still lost the game though, and that's the one thing that I kept trying to point out to Lions fans last year is like, look, you're so involved in sacks and invested into sacks being the ultimate. It's really not. So if Aiden can go out and have his best game of his life, and we still lose the game, what did the sacks do? Sacks are great for me, not to get off subject here, but sacks are great for me when it's game changing, right? It's a 3rd and 5 and you drop them to 4th and 11 and now they have to punt the ball. In today's league, if you drop them, and it's still 4th and 5, they may go for it depending on where they are on the football field. But if you drop them behind 10 yards, right, 4th and 10, probably not going to go for it. And maybe you pushed them out of field goal range and now they have to punt it. So I think that sacks matter, but it's game situational for me. And I don't want to get too off of this topic, but saying that our biggest weakness in 24 is defensive line depth, I can't agree with that. But I want to let you finish this, and I'm gonna slice it up a little bit.
Yeah, that was last year's biggest weakness. I don't think that's going to be the weakness this year coming into it. I got the chat talking about the fact that I said Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, I'll come up. You'll hear some random things come out of my mouth. If you liked it,
we're
hit
old.
the like button. Yeah. Try and keep my Lord and Savior's name out of my mouth, but you never know. You get me spicy in the middle of the season, I might drop some bombs. But I'll try my best not to. We keep this G-rated. So Jiminy Christmas, not Jiminy Cricket, is going to be what I'm saying today. And you never know what I'll say tomorrow. But tune in because you never know. All right. So, yeah, defensive line depth was a weakness. And they're going, again, this is PFF. So anytime we bring up something from PFF, you got to understand that they're using their grading and analytics to do it. So when you see us go from one of the top, pass rush teams to 27th out of 32 teams from week 7 on, that is a pretty big drop off. And it shows, and you can kind of extrapolate that data and say like, oh, there must not have been depth behind Aiden Hutchinson. I don't think really any team has a guy that steps up and replaces Aiden Hutchinson, right? That's kind of how the NFL is structured. You can't have, like Brad was saying, you can't have a bunch of Aiden Hutchinsons on the team, or else you're probably not going to be able to pay the rest of the team. And so, yeah, it's interesting. But that takes us right into what they think our X factor is for 2025. Guess who? It's our boy Hutch, right? They said that he's the key to the entire Lions defense. We have plenty of talent in the secondary. Jack Campbell is emerging as one of the best linebackers in football. Hutchinson, though, is their foremost player. He played in just 5 games, yet still tied the team league in regular season with 45 pressures. He was carrying an unprecedented 38.6 pass rush win rate, which is ridiculous. Most people are like near 20% at the time of his injury. So they're basically saying that Hutchinson's health and the way he returns is going to be one of the biggest storylines, not just for the Lions, but for the entire NFL. And if he can get back on that pace, back up to that standard of play, yeah, he is the X factor for this team.
Okay, this is where I dive in, and people probably won't like me, but that's okay. I've spoken a lot about this subject. I've spoken a lot about PFF, and the more you tune in, the more you'll listen, and hopefully, I don't want to say you learn something from us, but I try to find the information that's not talked about a whole lot. And I do that because I'm trying to give transparency on a topic. So for something like this, saying that from week 7 onward, the Lions ranked 27th in the NFL with a 61.8 team PFF pass rush grade, probably true. When you blitz constantly and you're trying to also affect the pass rush, what are the quarterbacks doing? They're getting that ball out super quick. If you go back and look every single week, you'll notice that PFF is putting the time to throw out there, and the quarterbacks that we're going up against are getting that ball out extremely quick. The average sack in the NFL is closer to 3 seconds than it is closer to 2.5. And if you're getting the ball out in 2.7, 2.6 seconds, you're not going to get to the quarterback. It's almost impossible to get to the quarterback when the ball's coming out that quick. So, yeah, our pass rush, you could say it trailed off, but that doesn't mean our hurries weren't there. That doesn't mean our pressures weren't there. The actual pass rush, as far as sacks, definitely fell off. But we ranked right with the Eagles and right with the Chiefs, the 2 Super Bowl teams. We were right there with them as far as sacks, if you're a believer in sacks. I'm a believer in TFLs, which is a sack, right? It's just a TFL, or a sack is a TFL on the quarterback, whereas a TFL is you're dropping a guy behind the line of scrimmage and it could be anybody else on the team. I'd rather see TFLs than sacks. That at least tells me the rest of the defense is doing their job. My bone to pick with PFF on this type of stuff is like our defensive line depth still ranked near the top of the league in run defense. And like I did last night, I went at Mina Kimes because Mina Kimes came out and said our biggest problem last year was our run defense. How could you say that when we ranked in the top 5 of the league through the first 8 weeks and we finished, I think, top 7 through all of 2024? That doesn't seem like a team to me that's struggling to run defense. That doesn't seem like a team to me that is struggling with defensive line depth. And to your point earlier, yeah, there's no team out there that has 2 Hutches. There's no team out there that has 2 Davenports or 2 Josh Pascals. We were into the 6th, 7th, and 8th defensive end. There's no team out there that has a guy that can just slide in and do what Aiden did, or even do what our 2nd or 3rd guy did. It doesn't exist. Unless you're willing to pay $60 or now $80 million a year, it will never exist unless you draft a guy in the 1st round and that guy just so happens to work out, or you get a guy in the 6th round that just so happens to work out. We don't know yet what we have, but I will say this. across this entire defensive line, here's why Aiden had so much, how do I put it, success. 38.6% pass rush win rate last year wasn't all Aiden. You have to remember that we had DJ Reader, who's eating up 2 guys. We had Ali McNeil, who's eating up 2 guys. And then as you get down the line, I mean, especially early in the season, when Aiden had all this success, we had Davenport for the first couple of games. He was playing out of his mind. I mean, he was really playing well. DJ Reader last year had his best season as a defensive tackle with 3 sacks. That was a personal best. And you're probably like, oh my God, 3 sacks, that's nothing. But for a defensive tackle who's really a nose tackle, that's not a pass rushing defensive tackle, 3 sacks is pretty good. You really don't expect much more than that. And so for him to have a personal best and the rest of this defense to play the way that they did, you've got cornerbacks last year and 2 top-tier safeties last year that were able to hold the line, so to speak, giving the defensive line a little bit more time, making that quarterback pat the ball 1 extra time before they release it, and giving us an opportunity to create a pressure. Now, I'm not going to go deep off into pressures today. We talked about it a week and a half ago. We'll talk about it 6 more times before we get to the season. There are literally 15 different ways to create a pressure in the NFL. My key stat is how many are you getting under 2.5 seconds? That means you're really getting pressure on the quarterback. That used to be the only stat. Now you have all of these different levels of hurries and pressures that I think it's watered down the stat overall. I mean, you go from an average of a team, a guy maybe having 40 or 50 pressures a year to now 100, and it's because they're recording them differently, right? It's just like rewriting the history books. You've rewritten it because you've changed the way that it is scored. And that's why you see so many different analytic companies coming up with different numbers because they score them differently. And I think PFF is probably the loosest as far as how they score these things. And that's why, you've heard Brad Holmes and other GMs and even Dan Campbell to a degree, but other coaches say, laughing at PFF or saying you just can't believe in PFF. The players don't believe in PFF, right? It's for us, to fantasize about what these guys are doing on the field, and PFF is doing a good job at pumping that ether. So, look, I'm not taking anything away from Hutch. And yes, our X factor is what he comes back to be. If Hutch is even 80% of his best season, I think we're okay. I think this defense is totally set up to win this year. And I think we're going to be a much better. I mean, look, we were headed right where I thought we were going to be last year, Corey. I thought that we would be a top 10 defense overall, and we were right there. And I thought that if we could just get into that top 10, talk, we would end up in a Super Bowl because we would have a top 2, top 3 offense. We'll be right back there again this year, but I'm going to go a step further. We'll be a top 7 defense by the end of the year. You heard it here first. You heard it here first, and I promise you we'll be there.
I like it. And I think Hutch will be right back into his same old things. I don't think it's much of an X factor. I think when you take into his mentality, and he wants to get back to that standard of play and prove that, that pace that he was on last year was not a fluke, that he can sustain it over the year. And I mean, that injury was so tough. It's such a, heartbreaking injury to see your star go down with something so graphic, right? It was like that is that takes its toll on you, man. And he even said like it was some of the hardest times of his life going through that rehab to get back. But if I know anything about guys who make it to the league and are successful there, it's because they've got a different mentality. And my brother has it. I'm sure Hutch has it. And I'm sure he's just ready to get to work to prove it. And so I'm sure the season can't come soon enough for him. And that's probably for the entire Detroit Lions team. Now that they're healthy, let's get back on the field and show what we can do. So, just moving on into the last little bits of this breakdown that PFF did for us. They gave us a rookie to watch, and it's not my brother. Don't worry. I'm going to talk about somebody else. They said guard Tate Ratledge is the rookie to watch on the roster. They said the Lions have an outstanding offensive line, as noted in our strength from the previous year, but they may hold competitions at both guard spots after Kevin Zeitler's departure. Second-round pick Tate Ratledge figures to be in that mix after posting in its outstanding 87.9 PFF pass blocking grade during his 3 seasons as the starter in Georgia. And so remember Georgia's the SEC team, right? And we can take that for what it is, but it's pretty much as close to the NFL as you're going to get in college. And so if you're having that type of success as a pass blocker in the SEC, it's a great sign for the ability to transition to the league. They said second-year man Christian Mahogany also figures to be a part of the competition, which means the Lions could have an intriguing pair of young interior players flanking the veteran center Frank Ragnow. And we saw that, Tate Ratledge was being cross-trained at center too. So, adding to the depth across that front, if it was already one of our strengths and we're adding another piece to that puzzle, not including Miles Frazier, it will be interesting to see, where he slots in, if he wins the job. And if not, does he just add to the depth? And do we now have, literally the best offensive line of football? Maybe, it could be argued without using PFF's data. I'll just tell you right now.
So, I mean, look, we've had one of the best offensive lines. I don't think that there's really another offensive line that can hold a candle, to what the Lions have been doing, year in and year out. It's hard to sustain, right? It's hard to keep these guys on the team. If I were to say, well, one, let me comment on what PFF put out there. I absolutely believe in Tate Ratledge's ability. You're coming with a mullet to Detroit from the SEC. Yep. You fit right in with these guys. I think that Tate is going to be a very special athlete for the Detroit Lions. I think he's going to bless this league with some superior guard play. Will it maybe take him a second? Sure. He may not pop off the page right away, but then again, he could surprise us, and he could. But, he's a rookie. He's a second-round pick, but I think that he's going to do exactly what he was doing. It's going to be hard to replace Kevin Zeitler. I mean, let's just be honest about that for a moment. Kevin Zeitler is one of the best guards to ever play in the game. And I think that Tate eventually will get to that status. And I think it's going to happen a little bit quicker for him simply because he's playing next to Penei Sewell and next to Frank Ragnow or Taylor Decker. Either way he ends up, right or left side, he's in a great position. I mean, if I'm being honest, I really want him at left guard. I think that he would really help out Taylor Decker. Taylor Decker slid a little bit last year. Maybe the stats don't show that, but you could tell there was breakdowns at times. Maybe that was Graham Glasgow being a little bit of a fish out of water on the left side. He's a better right guard than he is a left guard, and he's a heck of a center when we need him. So I don't want to see Graham go anywhere, but man, this offensive line's getting deep quick, and it's gone from a strength that, again, if we were to interchange the X factor and Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell, it's the same conversation that I don't think anyone else is having. How many more Penei Sewells do we have on the team, Corey?
0.
How many more Taylor Deckers do we have on the team?
That'd be 0.
And Ragnow. Could I guess? 0. Why? Why is that? Everyone would love to have 2 offensive lines. It's the same argument for the defensive line. Everyone would love to have 2 defensive lines that are just as good, right? It's not going to happen. What the Lions just did, you might be there. Like, we might end up having 2 offensive lines. Could you imagine if Giovanni Manu really blows up this year? The guy's a massive human, and he could end up playing left tackle really, really well. We don't know yet. He's been, working out in the offseason with Taylor Decker. Let's just say he's 90% as good as Taylor Decker when he finally enters the league, when he finally gets his chance to start. And you have Miles Frazier and Giovanni Manu and Tate Ratledge. All of these guys can end up being starters somewhere in the league, hopefully for the Detroit Lions at some point. But I think that our offensive line is now probably the deepest in the league.
Yeah,
assuming our rookies end up where they need to be, right?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are always the team that people say, like, oh, they have the best offensive line, right? Like,
well, they got the tush push, and I think it's over glorified them.
It is.
You know what I mean? I think it's really over glorified what they do.
Yeah, and I think when you have Saquon Barkley, it makes everyone look good too. Like,
he definitely
just like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Like, it doesn't hurt to have a freaking X factor at the running back position. I got to give a shout out to Mr. Thomas in the chat. He just found out he's going to be a grandpa. That is exciting news. So a big shout out to you, Mr. Thomas. Thanks for being here. Heck yeah, that is definitely a blessing. And he's saying, Ahmed's going to have 14 sacks a year. Just because I shouted you out, okay, doesn't mean you have to lie to me, brother. I wish that would be true. Oh, my gosh. Actually, Todd came in here and he mentioned the prediction of Ahmed getting 7 sacks and some TFLs. We heard that. I think some people heard that on another show this morning. The stats that were listed were something I can only dream of for Ahmed's rookie year. The stats, I'm just going to throw these out there. And these, I don't know where the source is. Vegas is the source.
1 second before you get to that. Mr. Thomas, man, look, I got to give you a big heartfelt congratulations. Another Lions fan is going to be born, right? So super exciting to have that. Let's welcome in that Lions fan the right way.
Yes.
All right, one war for the new One Pride coming. Mr. Thomas, you've got to keep us in the loop here when this baby comes. So, all right, congratulations to you. You were saying something about the stats. Go ahead and let us.
I'm just going to throw out the Vegas prediction. They said Ahmed would have 44 pressures, 7 sacks, 30 tackles, and your favorite 9 TFLs. So you add that to his sacks, 7 sacks and 9 TFLs. Dude is just balling. And I'm just saying, I don't know if where that data comes from, but he's got to be playing a ton of snaps to be getting that type of production.
You would be starting.
Yes. And PFF doesn't have him predicted as a starter. They have Marcus Davenport and Josh Pascal listed there, but they also have, pretty low grades for those two guys, 53.1 for Davenport and 53.0 for Pascal. So maybe Vegas is predicting that Ahmed moves up the depth chart sooner rather than later. All I know is, as his brother, I could tell you this: if he gets that opportunity, he will produce. And we're going to see that in the preseason. I think he will definitely be a fun one to watch. And we know that the entire Detroit Lions fan base will be watching the defensive ends. We know that they were watching them during the draft. We know that they will be watching them during the season. And like you had mentioned, the whole defensive line works off of each other. And so when Aiden comes back and he comes back healthy, that opens up opportunities for the other side, whether that's Davenport, Pascal, Hassanin, whoever. It's going to be a lot of production out there to be had when you have so many weapons. And that's not even including the interior guys who are, like you always point out, eating up double teams and taking the pressure off of those edges and allowing them to line up wider and attack the quarterback. So I would love if those stats come true, then he might actually be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Go put your money down in Vegas now. I will. That would be amazing return on investment, I promise. But I don't even know if you could find a book that would have my brother's name.
I don't even go. Yeah. So just so everyone understands, just so everyone understands what he's talking about is there was some rumor flying around that Ahmed was listed as, what was it, Defensive Rookie of the Year watch or something, and Vegas had all of these stats, but we haven't seen anything from Vegas, and Corey's his brother, and he hasn't heard any of this. So you put 2 and 2 together. I would love to hear
from Ahmed yesterday, though. I did hear from Ahmed after the first day of OTAs, and he was
how's his body feel?
He was super excited, man. He like, being out there with the vets and getting to see them go through their work. He is extremely confident. He is extremely happy to be there. He is ready to get after it and compete. But just doing his time and taking all the coaching in and just super blessed and excited. He was all smiles, and giving me details and stuff that is off the record, so we won't talk about it too much here. But it's a good time to be a Lions fan. Let's just put it that way.
I'm excited, man. Speaking of being excited, we're only 15 likes away from getting these ads off. Now, it looks like we just lost 20 people for a moment. They must be in ad world. Let's get them out of ad world, and let's get them back into the real world. 15 more likes, we get ads off for the rest of the day. I'm terrible at asking. I know Trace does a really good job at trying to remind everybody what we do, but we try to make sure that ads get off so that it's real seamless. You don't get that anywhere else. Like, nobody does that. It's just something that we do to try to get back. next up, man, I wanted to get into DJ Reader because I think that what we're going to hear, and I'm sure some of you have already watched this, this bit of DJ Reader's media availability, but there's so much to take out of this. And so I want to preface this with a question, and then I want to get into the DJ Reader video. So Aiden Hutchinson's return to OTAs, huge, right? My question to all of you in the comments later, in the chat now, how big of a boost will this be to the team that lost their leader last season on the defense? They lost a pivotal piece, right? And with him out, they still played as well as they did. And that's where I have this trouble saying that we don't have great depth, or we didn't have great depth last year, winning 15 football games, with third and fourth stringers and, seventh and eighth on the depth chart, guys coming off the street, guys coming off practice squads to play defensive tackle and defensive end in the same game. Is pretty incredible. And then they produce, right? They produced. So how big of a boost is it to see Aiden Hutchinson walk onto the field yesterday? And what do you think the guys are feeling internally? And Corey, I'm going to ask you that question because you've played the game. And as you blessed us with your some of your college highlights yesterday, which, you got to tell that school to invest in some camera equipment. I'm sure they have by now, but
you got to remember that was 2007.
Yeah, a little bit different of a view.
Yeah.
But how would you have viewed that? Have you had that situation kind of happen and any of the teams that you played with where you lost a big role that comes back? How does that boost? How do you internalize it? What do you think happens to the team?
Yeah, no, it is a galvanizing thing. I think, I didn't necessarily have it when I was playing, but my last year coaching high school in Southern California was a very unique situation. And I'll just kind of give you the short story. So it was the year after COVID, and a lot of, the kids, struggled with going to class and getting their academics done. And so we had a ton of ineligible players at the beginning of the season. And it's not an injury, but they were out for other reasons, right? They having to prepare as if they were playing, but then not getting the chance to be on the field. And the season didn't start off the way we wanted, and we were losing games. And I was trying to keep the morale of the team up by keeping all those, ineligible guys, ready and encouraged and motivated, and saying, like, when you do get back, imagine what the impact on the team is going to be, right? Like, if you are going to be fresh when everyone else is beat up, and when you are hungry and ready to get after it, when everyone else is dwindling, imagine what that's going to do. And what's funny is it came true, to the biggest extent. It was as if we had a whole new team when that group of guys, was finally eligible. And we ended up making a run to win a CIF championship, the first one in 41 years for my high school, all the way into the state finals. And it was a testament to their dedication, but also to the team coming around them and realizing it was like, look at what we have now, right? If we could do it without them, how much better are we going to be with them? And I think that's what happened to the Lions last year. Last year, they had a super successful season without their best player, or one of their best players, for the majority of it, right? 15-2 doesn't happen on accident, especially with all the injuries. And so you take away those injuries, you get healthy. It's almost as if, we get all those ineligible players back at full strength, and they're ready to get after it, and they're hungry, and they want to prove to the rest of the league and to their teammates, like, this is what we were missing last year. We are, able to do it. And so I think, it's going to be a great, morale boost for the rest of the team, to have everybody at full strength. And like you said, like, hopefully, you can never account for injuries. They're going to happen, but last year was an anomaly. Mm-hmm. You can't account for that many injuries, and especially all on one side of the ball. It's just an extreme disadvantage, and something that you don't predict to happen again. And so I think having Aiden out there to be a full go and full participant, taking those first team reps at OTAs, is just like a confidence boost for the entire team. And it should be for the fan base as well.
1,000% agree. And before I get to this video, I want to bring something else up that's about motivation for this team. But I 1,000% agree that this is going to be a huge boost for this team. I think everyone understands that, how important he is as a leader, but just simply being the player and the human that he is, this team needs it, right? And I think that the other thing that we're going to see is exactly what you said. If you're a player, man, we were able to do what we did without him and him and him and those four and these three and these six. Everyone's here and everyone's playing. What are we going to do this year? Right? I can only imagine what's going through these guys' brain on the football field. You'll be able to hopefully enlighten us soon with, some information, but they have to be just stoked at when they're looking around like, this is our team. Like this is it. Like, holy cow. You know what I mean? Like there's a ton of good football players on this Detroit Lions defense. And even some of these unsung heroes, right? These guys that stepped in last year, they got a ton of playing experience where maybe they wouldn't have before. Their experience now is critical to this season because if they are called up upon again, they're ready to go. And more so, the depth and how they're able to push against the offense. We haven't even discussed what that does for the offense. You now have a better team pushing your second and your third units to get better. So this amplifies what the offense is able to do too. Because if they're going up against an elite defense, that's just going to make Jared Goff better and quicker at reading what he needs to do. And it's going to make Jameer and Amon-Ra and everybody else better too. So it's twofold. It's not just what the defense can do. This is about the offense too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, it's like when you go to play pickup basketball and you look around and you're like, who's with me? And then all the big dudes in the gym are like, yeah, I'll be on your team. I'll be on your team. And you're like, dude, we're not getting off the court ever. Like, we were just going to run it the entire night. It's like, that's got to be how they feel, right? And all of a sudden, dudes are dunking on fools. And you're like, we're at 24-hour fitness. Like, we don't need this type of athleticism. But it's nice to have, right? And I think that's probably how the Lions feel. Looking around, you got Jameer and Demo and freaking Jamison Williams coming out with a new number and Aiden Hutchinson wearing a do-rag. And like, man, what is going on in Detroit? It's awesome. I love the vibe. It's going to be a great season. That's what I feel. It's
like that's when the rules changed at on the court. It's like it used to be win by 1. No, you guys got to win by 4.
Yeah.
you got the game's not over. You got to win by 4, but we still got to get to 11.
Seriously.
That's what happens. It's almost unfair, right? So, all right, let's get into this, man. So, Alex Anzalone, before I get into this video, I want to make sure that we address Alex Anzalone. Huge piece of this defense. Another major leader on this team. Suffered an injury last year that knocked him out for, I think, 6 or 7 games. Comes back. I'm there. I record it. I sent it to a lot of people in the group chat. The place erupted when Alex Anzalone came onto the field for his first game back. And I happened to be there. It was just a moment, right? That you could just feel that energy of how important he is, just as important as Aiden Hutchinson to this defense. So, you dog just joined us. Super, super important to this defense. A lot of conversation now happening around his contract and that Alex Anzalone is unhappy and he's not at OTAs because he wants a new contract. And then you hear or see the clickbait that Anzalone is going to be traded and all. No. Or that we bring in Cunningham to push Alex Anzalone and that he's going to be the replacement. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Anzalone has never been in OTAs this early, ever, with the Detroit Lions. So this is like a no story for me. I am not worried about Alex Anzalone as a teammate, as a leader on this team. Sure, he deserves to get paid. And he's probably looking around the room like, man, you got paid, you got paid, you got paid. I started this thing. They brought me here to start this thing, to build this. They gave me a 3-year deal, and now it's time for a new one. So does he expect that, he should get a bump in pay? Sure he does. Does he deserve it? Absolutely. I think we're up against a couple of issues, though, and that is the youth movement. I think that the Lions are trying to stay younger, but at the same time, you cannot put a value on a veteran leader. If the Lions get this one wrong, I'll put this out there just because I was thinking about this last night. So far, the Lions have come full circle on what they promised. We're going to draft you. We're going to develop you. You put the work in. You become the player that you're supposed to be. We're going to pay you. We're going to take care of you. They've come full circle on that. But if they get this one wrong and they don't give Alex Anzalone at least a little bit of a bump that has, a little bit of a walk away for the Lions where they can walk away from the contract maybe next year, what message will that send to the team? Let me clarify. I'm not worried about Alex Anzalone not playing this year. I think he will under his last year if need be. If the Lions give him an extra year of cushion so that they can either trade him to a different team or work out another deal next year, that's all possible. But I don't think Alex is going to scuttle the last year of his contract and not show up and be part of a championship contender. I don't think he's going to do that. But for all of the other circus media right now saying all of this stuff, Alex has never been in OTAs this early, and I don't expect him to be. It's one of three players, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown's not in OTAs. And I think that's because he's got other things planned right now. And there was and I don't know what that is, but that's just a speculation. I mean, we just saw him doing an episode with Cam Scatabo, so we know he's doing stuff. There's one other guy that was out right now. Who was it? Well, Isaac Tesla was on the sideline yesterday. He wasn't dressed. He wasn't playing from what we could see. There's one more guy that was out. Who was out yesterday? Name escapes me right now. But anyway, I'm not worried about Alex. And I'm going to put it back in the Lions' lap. Like, just get it right. Whatever that is, just get it right. You don't want to send the wrong message, to these vets. As far as Cunningham goes, I've heard this term like empty tackles, or like his body of work is not valuable because he has a bunch of tackles, but it was kind of empty. I didn't understand that. A guy that gets 100 tackles in a season, that's not empty. Like that's really good production. And on a defense like this, where your linebackers are relatively clean throughout the game, that means he's cleaning up the run game, right? He's shutting down the run. That's why Cunningham is here. One, he's a veteran leader. And two, he knows how to shut down the run game. I think he's going to be really good in that aspect. Not a good coverage guy, right? I don't expect him to be out in coverage doing great things, but right now he may not even be on the team. He might be a camp body and that's it, but we'll see. And that's the way I view it right now. Alex is going to be fine. I don't think he's going anywhere. There's no trade rumors other than the rumors that are just, people are spewing. So do you have any thoughts on this? Have you read anything or seen anything on this?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about the Cunningham and him being, that empty tackler,
whatever it was,
where he makes most of his plays going sideline to sideline, not a lot behind the line of scrimmage, not a lot of, pass breakups or guarding anybody. He's just a pure tackler. But you know what? Every team needs that, especially when you got D linemen who are keeping their, keeping the linebackers clean, as you said. One of the things I'll say about the Alex Anzalone part of it is, it's great to be able to pay everybody, and it's great to be able to, do right by your guys. But at the end of the day, the NFL, and it's a harsh reality, is a business, and it's you have to, project out into the future and see, read the tea leaves and say, like, what does the next year look like? What does the next year after that look like? And how are we going to, pay certain guys? And we can't pay everybody. And and if we have a guy like Jack Campbell, right, who's up and coming and plays the same position, and you might, see him as the future of that position, then do you really? And I hate, this sounds really bad, but it's like, and I know Alex Anzalone was a lot of the glue type of guy, right? He was making plays when Detroit was on its rise, and he helped get us to this point. But do you pay for past production? Or are you paying for the future, right? And Brad has to know, we are looking towards, creating a consistent, sustainable future. And if the guy is already, you know, putting out, like somebody Brent said in the chat, passive aggressive tweets about Trey Hendrickson and kind of sending this signal that's saying, like, take care of me, and maybe like strong arming the organization, trying to say like, this is what I think I deserve. There's sometimes you're going to get an organization or a leadership, and this goes outside of, just the NFL, that's going to be like, no, I don't like that. I don't like, being put in that position. So I'm going to go the other direction. And at the end of the day, it's on Alex Anzalone and his agent on what message they're delivering to the organization. But it's going to come down to, is the value worth it moving forward? Not, we can't pay you for what you did in the past. We appreciate everything. But if you think you deserve this much money, unfortunately, we might have to say you're going to have to get it somewhere else. That's what the Bengals are doing to Trey Hendrickson, right? Yeah. They kind of shut him out.
They totally fumbled Trey Hendrickson. That's a mess. That's a mess.
They did, and you can tell his feelings are hurt. And I hate to say it, but a lot of feelings get hurt in the NFL, right? A lot of guys think that they are worth more than what they get, and sometimes that eventually leads to them searching on other teams for that money. And I'm not going to, take away anything from what Anzalone has done for the Lions and for the culture. And anytime you have a guy with beautiful flowing golden locks like that running around the field, he becomes a fan favorite, and everyone wants to root for him, right? And when he's making plays and he's a good football player as well, you feel for the guy, right? Everyone wants to get the raise and the promotion, but only a couple people can, right? And it's like, you can't promote everyone, you can't pay everyone, and if we have to lose a couple of the guys that were, the heart of the team or fan favorites, like, hate to say it, but the NFL is a business, and there's no love lost at the end of the day. And if Alex Anzalone is, I think you're right, he will play for the Lions and not hold out or not do any of that, weird stuff that is going to take away from the team. But if at the end of 2025 comes and we have Super Bowl rings, and then we let Alex Anzalone go to another team, I don't think anyone's really going to feel too upset because they have a Super Bowl ring, right? Like, it's a business, and it's the harsh reality. And it's something I remind my brother every day, man. It's like, you are a professional now. You have to act like a professional. You have to perform like a professional, and they are going to treat you like a professional, which means you can get let go. And your perspective of your own value is not always the way that your company or organization sees you. And so that youth movement coming forward, and the balancing of the books for the future, there's going to be these types of repercussions. And I think, it's sad to say, but maybe this is the start of that. I don't know for sure, but only Brad knows, and the rest of the organization knows what they have in mind for Alex moving forward.
Yeah. So for me, it was, watching this whole thing unfold over the last couple of seasons, you could kind of see where this was going to kind of rear its ugly head, if you will. Bringing in the players that Brad did through the draft and having the success that this team has had, you knew at some point these guys are going to get paid. Well, that started, right away last year. Jared Goff getting paid, Amon-Ra St. Brown getting paid, Aleem McNeil, and others since. Alex was brought in to kind of start the engine, right? He got the motor running, and he kept it well fed, and here we are. The team is winning. The culture is right. The identity is there. We brought in some really good football players. There's now a collection of leaders on this team where maybe Alex was maybe one of the only ones, outside of Jared Goff. He was one of the only one, and Penei Sewell, to kind of really start, where this team needed to get to. It's why I was hoping the Lions were going to draft a linebacker to replace him, because now you're kind of at that point where you probably can't pay. And I think you made a great point, similar to what I said the other day. Are we paying guys for what they did, or are we paying guys for what they're going to do? Let me throw this analogy out there. Miguel Cabrera, right? Phenomenal Detroit Tiger. got a record-breaking contract. I think it was like 10 years, $300 million or something crazy like that. And it was he was being paid for what they did. You know, the few seasons that he put up prior to that contract. Because after that contract, he had a few more good seasons relative to what he did, but then he trailed off in a hurry. And then they kind of just kept him around until, you know, he finally retired. But he was paid for what he did. He wasn't really being paid for what his future was going to hold because he was kind of older at that point of getting that massive contract. And it was part of, you know, he's part of the fabric of the city. He's part of the fabric of the team. And so that's the only analogy that I could really make that I think fits with this. Definitely different players, you know, to the team, right? I mean, Alex is not like the best linebacker in the league, but he's pretty good. I'm glad that he's on the team. A lot of Lions fans doubted Alex Anzalone from the very outset of him coming to Detroit. And I think now, you know, a lot of them are looking back at the situation and saying, man, where would we have been without him? Because that guy runs sideline to sideline. So unless you could have, you know, brought somebody else in that had similar ability on such an inexpensive contract, where would the value have been? Because I don't think that we would have gotten the value or the play if we would have brought in somebody else. So that's it. Look, I'm not worried about Alex at all. I think something will get worked out. And even if it doesn't, I think that he's going to be in Detroit at least through this year and give the Lions that one more, you know, go at it. But he just wants security, man. He's got a young family, a new baby, and he wants his security too. He's probably got, you know, 2-3 good seasons left in him. You would think at 30 years old, he probably does. Does he get another 3-year deal, or does he just go through these 1-year deals the rest of his career and try to stick around with a contender should the Lions not win it this year, which I'm expecting that they can probably get it done this year. But anyway, let's move on to DJ Reader and then Peter Van Larhoven. I wanted to answer your question real quick because I missed it. You were asking me if I were Hutchinson, would I want an extension now or bet on myself and try for a bigger payday? So yesterday or the day before, I kind of said like the floor is Myles Garrett now for contracts for elite defensive ends, or at least where the league is placing the elite moniker on these guys. So if you believe that Aiden's elite, then you'd have to believe that he's going to get paid somewhere between $35 and $42 million a year. That's where I think it's going to be. If I were Aiden coming off this major injury, and if the team came to me and said, look, we want to win multiple championships, and we know that we can do that with you. Look at the team around you. Is there another team that you want to play with in the league that you think can go out and win? You know, we have a great team assembled. So is $30 million going to do it for you? We'll sign you to a 5-year deal instead of 4. We'll renegotiate in a couple of seasons, but let's get you paid now. Good signing bonus. And let's get you rolling so that we don't have to worry about this. We open up the checkbook a little bit to bring in some more guys. But if you maintain what you've done and you're a 10-plus sack guy a year and we backload this with a bunch of incentives, then would you do it? Then I would say yes if I were Aiden, because I don't know what I'm going to be. In my mind, I probably know what I'm going to be, but you haven't been on the field yet, right? In a game, you don't know what you're going to be yet. So if I were the player, I would take the money, and if it was 30 to 35 million, I would take it in a heartbeat. What is an extra 5 million going to do for these guys? Or even 6 or 7 million a year? You know, you're talking another 30, 40 million dollars over the course of a contract. What is it really going to do for you? I hate to say it like that because you give me $6 million, I'm good. I couldn't imagine $40 million a year. So I would take the money. Betting on yourself, I think a lot of people want to bet on themselves, but that could blow up in your face too, in a heartbeat. What would you do, Corey?
Yeah, I was just pulling up the information. Myles Garrett is 30 this year, and he just signed his restructured contract. So that means he's on his 3rd contract, right?
Yeah.
Aiden would be on his 2nd. So for him to get Myles Garrett money on his 2nd contract after coming off an injury would be an astronomical ask. I feel like. I think Mr. Thomas in the chat said 40 million is way too much.
Yeah.
Obviously the it's been reset. The market has been reset with Myles Garrett, but you're talking about Myles Garrett. He is arguably one of the best defensive ends
Ever.
Of this generation for sure, but almost ever, right? And he is just a freak athletically. I'm not saying Aiden isn't that, but I just know what Myles Garrett is, and Myles Garrett has proven it year after year after year. We're talking about projecting into the future with Aiden, and we saw the glimpse of what could have been last year. But I think you're right. We want to see what he's going to be, and if he's going to return to that form. I think if he could get anywhere close to 35 million, that would be a great number for him to get. Because there are guys making a lot less than that on their restructured contracts, and so he would be being paid as elite, but maybe not the top of the market. I think that's a fair compromise for a guy who hasn't put it on tape for 4 years yet. We want to see what he's going to be moving out into the future, and I think anywhere in that vicinity would be good for him. I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle that and when they go about giving him his deal and giving him that extension. We know they want him here. We know he probably wants to be here. But again, like, you never know. Like, Trey Hendrickson just led the league in sacks, and his own team won't re-sign him. It's like, man, you really never know what's going on behind the scenes. And so I know that, Aiden, I can guarantee that he is hungry to prove it. And if he does, then the money will follow. So, it'll be interesting.
I've spoken on this a handful of times. Do I believe, and I'm seeing some of the comments here in the chat with Brent and others, do I believe that Aiden is deserved of 40 million? No. Look, Myles, to your point, I think Brent, he strong-armed Cleveland a little bit. I mean, he came out and said he wanted to be traded and he didn't care about the money, but I think that when someone puts $40 million in your face, it kind of changes your attitude a little bit. I don't think that there's anyone close to Myles Garrett. I mean, the guy has put up more than 10 sacks a year for 6 or 7 years in a row. I think he had north of 14 sacks for 3 or 4 seasons in a row or something like that. I got to be close to that. I just know that Myles is far away ahead of anybody else in the league. And to somebody's point in the chat that they said that, Crosby just got 35 or 33 million a year, that Aiden hasn't reached that level yet. I would agree. As I've always said, I know a lot of the Michigan fans that listen to this and are part of the One Pride community, you believe in Aiden more so than I think the rest of the league does, because you are invested as a Michigan fan. I separate Saturdays and Sundays, and I look at it, the perspective is I look at it, from I guess a different lens, if you will. I look at what he's done. I compare it to what he's done against the rest of the league, and I would say I probably wouldn't pay him north of 30. And maybe I would do a short contract with him simply because of the injury. And then you're betting on yourself too, that you're banking on you're not going to get burned by his injury if you did something now. Lions picked up his 5th-year option. Like I expected that was going to happen, it happened. And I think that kind of bought the Lions another year. I don't think that there's really going to be an extension this year, as much as I think a lot of us would hope that Aiden's going to be around for the long term. Look, he still has this year and next year before a deal really needs to get done. And I think that if he goes out and proves himself this year, next year, it would be a no-brainer. And by then, it probably would be 40, simply because the market is what it is. And if he has a really good year this year, then they're going to have to pay him. It's not Aiden saying yes or no. It's the agent saying yes or no. Yeah. So unless he drops his agent and does this by himself, it's the agent that's going to agree to the contract, not Aiden. Aiden has some, valuable insight, if you will, but when you sign a contract with an agent, man, you've kind of let up, your ability to do anything or to say anything that's going to change a circumstance.
Yeah. Peter put a good point in the chat. He said, his counterpoint would be, if Amon-Ra and Penei Sewell got paid, top numbers, why would he deserve anything less. And I think what is important to realize is like Amon-Ra, what round was he drafted? 4th round, something like that. 5th? No, 4th, right? I think it was 4th.
Amon-Ra, fourth, I believe. Yeah, 4th.
So he's on a minimum. Like obviously he's not getting paid a ton, but his production as his value to the team, and the fact that wide receivers are always making more money, that they give him that extension now. They're probably going to be paying him. He won't be the highest paid wide receiver come next year.
Oh no,
right?
he got his deal.
Yeah, he got his deal. Exactly.
Yeah. So he got his deal last year, but then it was like next day there was another deal on top of it.
Exactly.
To your
and
point.
I think that's the thing. You got to get ahead of the curve because it's constantly resetting. And so what was the highest, deal that when he got it, it's no longer going to be like that. I same thing with Penei Sewell. He's one of the best linemen in the entire league. And we could say Aiden is projected to be one of the top defensive ends, but that's a projection, right? We want to see it. We want to see the sustained success. Then we'll pay you. And again, this is not paying you for what you've done, but we're paying you projecting out to what you're going to do. Aiden is still so young. It's a different situation than Alex Anzalone, right? Alex Anzalone's 30, 31. He's going towards, he's probably already reached the climax of his career and we're paying for, his past versus Aiden, you're paying for the future. And I think that's something to keep into account. And like, it's interesting. I know we wanted to get to DJ Reader. I think, and Gina saying Aiden has a really, really nice rookie contract considering you're, one of the first picks in the draft.
Oh, he's not making peanuts,
Yeah, you're making good money, brother. It's not a 6th round draft pick, right? And so
I like your point though. There's a big difference. And I think what I misunderstood you saying in the beginning was Amon-Ra St. Brown was making peanuts because he was a 4th round pick, number 7 overall in the 4th round. He was making peanuts, but he was also leading the league or at the top for 2 seasons, and you had to do something. Plus, he was he was only on a 4-year deal as a rookie, not a 5-year. You didn't have a 5th-year option on him. You had to do something, but he got near top money. Penei Sewell got near top money. Again, like the next day or whatever, it seemed like it was erased. There was someone else that overtook his deal. And for me with the Penei Sewell thing, it's like, did he get paid as right tackle? Did he get paid as a left tackle? Because he clearly could do both and probably be the best at either. He was a left tackle in college and he's just happened to be a right tackle for the Lions because we had Taylor Decker. So my question there would have been, what are they paying him for? But we won't dig into that today. As far as Aiden goes, look, to answer your question, Peter, if I were a betting man betting on myself, I would take, if the Lions came at me with $35 million a year right now, I would take it in a heartbeat. Now, I guarantee there's going to be language in there that says injury this, injury that, blah, 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 blah. But there's also the collective bargaining agreement that secures these contracts. Now, I don't know everything about this stuff because there's so much involved in it. But from what I understand, a lot of what they get is guaranteed due to injury. And that's why these teams will take out large insurance policies on these contracts. So I assume the Lions would do that as well if they did something now. I just don't see it happening. If the Lions give Aiden an extension, I think it would probably be between the first day of training camp and the first game of the regular season. And it probably wouldn't be any sooner than after the first or second preseason game. I expect to see Aiden out there on the field quite a bit. I don't know why he wouldn't be. I think that they're going to want to put him out there as much as they can and also make sure that they maintain his health as well. All right, let's get into DJ Reader because this is about a 12-minute video. I'm not sure how much we're going to get into all of it, but I wanted to break this down and then also bring this to everyone's attention because what DJ is saying in this video is exactly why you need to be excited about this season. And I know a lot of people weren't excited about DJ Reader, but he's like all we have right now, right? Aiden's banged up. Don't know what he is. Ali McNeil's out. Wingo's, out for a while. He's all we have until we see what these other guys can do. Of course, we've got, the rest of the defensive line coming back. But as far as the starters, DJ's what we got right now. So let's bring in DJ. Wow, the audio is terrible. One sec.
This year, just your initial.
What up, y'all?
What's it like seeing that guy back?
Good. It's good to see him moving, man. It's good to see him moving around. He's been good with the group during these OTA periods.
Could you provide a little perspective for him, considering, you just coming off the injury last year?
I know it's tough. Mentally and physically, it's tough. It's taxing on you. But knowing just from what I know about him and what I know how he's built is,
Corey, you have audio, right? You can hear and see me, or hear me at least.
it's nothing better than to just get out there and start proving to yourself that you are, and you've put in a lot of work to get back to this point. So I know he's feeling pretty good.
You've talked multiple times just about your enjoyment of the mentorship role. You get another pup in the room this year. Just your initial feelings about that leak, and then he's really physically gifted. What is the ceiling for a kid like that?
Sky's the limit. He's a good kid. And, he's pretty smart. He sits beside me in meetings, so it's cool to just hear his answers. He doesn't talk very loud, but he knows the answers to the question. So me being a vet, sitting beside him, it's always fun just watching the rookies kind of be like, I don't want to get it wrong. I'm like, who cares? Like, we're in a room, so it's been fun just sitting there watching him talk about it. But he really, really smart. He picks up the playbook really well. Can't wait to get to see him moving around and just...
All right, so real quick, I just wanted to point out the first question they were asking there was, seeing Aiden back on the field, and of course DJ, he gives a PC answer that Aiden obviously look good, feel good, good to see him back around on the team. But Corey, I just want to make sure that you can hear at least me, you can communicate.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm watching the video on the side and listening to him.
I got you.
So we're good.
So I'll stop it like this and we'll do some breakdown and all right. Just want to make sure you're in. All right, here we go.
See what's going on. I watched him a little bit at Ohio State. I was just really impressed with his game. Go ahead. You're good. I can stop right there. I can leave it right there.
You're probably gonna get something great. Yeah, just first. I was just gonna ask first impressions of Casey and thought of him.
It's cool because, my college coach and my coach in Cincinnati when I was there, Marion Hobby, him and Casey really close. So it's just like having a mirror and brother of Hobby over here coaching me. And it's a coaching style I really like. He's a teacher, wants to make sure you know every detail of what he wants you to do before he's asking you to do it. And I think for a player like me, that helps a lot because you know, what you can do within the system and what you can't do. It doesn't create much of a gray area for you. It doesn't teach you to be a robot, but it also lets you know where you got to be, and however you get there is how you get there. So it's been fun talking to him. And he's a pretty honest guy. I like that he's very honest, open, and talks to us just about life. It's been fun.
Question was about Casey Rogers and, working with Casey so far. What is his take on Casey? And he was, from what I could understand, his coach from back in the day at college, I guess, had a relationship with Casey, or they had a something like that. Very similar. Did you pick up on that, Corey?
Actually, yeah, he said that they were really good friends, and so he said it's like having a mirror of his college coach, and very honest. I don't know how much of that he got into, but he said because I marked this down as well, and this is something I've heard from Ahmed is that. Casey Rogers is a great teacher of the game. He doesn't just teach individual techniques, but he gives your role in the overall scheme. And so there's a better understanding of where you fit and where you need to be. And so, yeah, I think it's a great, great point to hear about a new coach on the staff and how, the players are relating to him. And it's cool that he's got a personal connection with him from before.
Yeah. And the one thing I really love about DJ, which I don't know if anyone else picks this stuff up like I do, maybe you did, Corey, but DJ's just like this gentle giant, man. I mean, he's an imposing human, but just a super nice, cool, calm, collected guy, man. I mean, you just the way that he interacts with the media, which, by the way, the Lions are doing a great job with miking up these guys. For whatever reason, the audio is just dog poop again. So we'll try to get the questions out there as long as we can hear them as well. But yeah, DJ, man, just a super nice dude.
I think a lot about the quarterback of the team when they think about a guy getting over the hump late in his career or middle of his career to get that Super Bowl win. You've been around the league for a while. I mean, we've had some really deep playoffs. You haven't got that ring yet. You know, how much is that just driving you, DJ, to get that final?
It's really
Question was, DJ's been around the league, quite a bit, couple of deep runs in the playoffs, haven't gotten over that hump yet. I'm paraphrasing because I couldn't fully hear the question. How much of that is driving him? And here's his answer.
all that matters. Like, nothing really else really matters. Like, I've had a really, really good career. I've been blessed and fortunate to play for a long time, play good ball, played in the Super Bowl, had a good game, just haven't won it. And so, that's really all that matters to me is really just winning one in whatever way and whatever part of a team I could be and whatever help I can do to this team to help win one. That's my main focus.
What kind of confidence has this organization built, winning 2 consecutive division titles, that when you come back in this building, is there a feeling, look, if we put the work in, do things the right way, we're a team that can be standing there at the end?
Question by Dan Miller is winning 2 divisional titles back to back. What does that do for you, as a player, knowing that you can win? But what does that do for him coming back into the building? From my guess of the rest of the question is, it's kind of like a reset question. Like, how do you feel coming back after doing it again, but just not getting there? So let's listen to his answer.
Yeah, I think that grows confidence around the guys who've been around and, the structure in which we have in place of our program just as a whole. But I also think it's very realistic that everybody knows, like, you got to earn it every year. So you got to go out there, you got to put the work in. But I think, like you said, winning 2 back-to-back, the work's proven. So we know that if we put it in, if we trust our coaches, if we do what we're supposed to do, then we're going to be where we want to be.
Last year on summer, a lot of guys re-signed as well. Average fans might not understand it or want flashy moves, but when you see the same continuity, same guys getting brought back, what does that do inside the locker room as well?
This was my favorite question, I think. I think it's Corey Woods. I really can't tell, but he said maybe not, all of the average fans, understand that you've got the same guys back in the building, a lot of the same team back in the building. Really, what does that do for you knowing that you're bringing a lot of the guys back and how he's about to answer it and tell us what that does for him personally, but also the team and how they feel. And then after this question, Corey, let's dive in with a little breakdown.
Big, it's just familiar faces. You see a lot of familiar faces. You see guys that are familiar with the system, so you're not really second-guessing on if they know it, if they don't. You don't have that kind of nervousness. You know what's going on. Now, it's always cool to add new guys, and I think that also helps with adding new guys. When I got a bunch of returning guys and I add somebody new, it's easier for me being somebody like last year. I came in last year. It's a lot easier for me to go in those guys in that room and ask questions because they were here. They know the system. They can help me out when I get lined up, and I can play with confidence. I'm not worried about some guy who just got here with me. I got to ask him a question. Though he may be a vet and know what's going on, we both got to ask each other the question, then both play with uncertainty. When I looked over there last year and Aleem was there, a guy who was already here, I know he knows where to line up. That way I can play my part and I can do my part right. So I think that helps us out a lot there's guys who are self-check now. Like, I don't got to look back and think about where Jack's going to be or where such and such is going to be. Like, I know they're going to be there because it's my second year in the deal, and I've seen them do it a million times before now.
Okay, I'm going to bring the video right back. But Corey, this is something that I spoke to. Just the other day, where I think we were catching a lot of flack. Not us, but I think us as Lions, the Lions team, Lions fans, catching a lot of flack from our own fans, saying that we brought all these guys back that they're a bunch of nobodies, and we've got a team that we didn't do enough, right? Mina Kimes, we didn't do enough. Or some of the SOL fans saying that we needed a first round defensive end and we didn't do enough. You just heard it from DJ Reader. The biggest confidence boost is bringing back these guys that you now don't have to worry of what's going on around you. You can play your game. And more importantly, DJ coming into this team last year knew that he could ask the questions to Aleem and, the guys that have been around the system for a while now. You've been in the system the same style of defense for 3 seasons, and you can ask Aleem, these questions. But now Aleem's out, so he's the guy walking into a room with some of the newer guys, but also the same guys that were here last year, and he can be the guy that can facilitate those answers now to help these guys get to where they need to be. The biggest thing to me that I took out of this is he doesn't have to worry about what's going on around him, that these guys know what they're doing. And it's exactly what I've been saying since the offseason free agency period when we started signing these guys back. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. We're bringing back the same team. People just don't understand how good this is. The continuity of it alone is going to set this team off and running, I think, immediately. So for a guy that's played the game at the collegiate level, coached the game, obviously been around the game, watched the game at the professional level, what is your take on what he just said?
Yeah, trust is huge, man. I think you got to trust your coaches, you got to trust the scheme, but you got to trust the guys around you. It's the analogy of doing it for your buddy next to you, like as if you're in the army or something, you're protecting the guy next to you. It goes all the way down to the X's and O's and just accountability for knowing your role and doing it to the best of your ability. And when you don't have to worry about the guy next to you, wholeheartedly that they know exactly where they fit in the scheme and you don't have to question it. It gives you a sense of confidence, right? It gives you the ability to play as fast as possible and not have to make up for other guys, right? You're just doing your job and depending on the other teammates to do their jobs. And something he said too is for those younger guys, right, to have an example of dudes who have done it, who understand it and can communicate it back to you. It helps with their progression as well. I know OTAs were yesterday, and so with Ahmed getting to see some of those vets and how they do things, even to like drill to drill and schemes and calls and communications, the way that things get done amongst the team, it just assimilates you quicker, right? You just kind of get into the flow of things much faster than if everyone is on their own page trying to figure things out. And so, yeah, the continuity amongst the team, amongst the defense, amongst the defensive line is an invaluable aspect of that experience. And DJ, puts it beautifully. It's like it allows you to go and play fast and not have to worry about anything. It's just a confidence boost, and it is enormous. The chemistry, we talk about team chemistry in baseball and basketball. It's the same thing in football. Everyone go and do your job. And there's a famous line from when I was in college. It's like an 11-to-1 ratio, right? It takes 11 guys doing the right thing to have a successful play. It takes one guy doing the wrong thing to blow up a play, right? To lose their responsibility and to screw it up. And so if you have confidence in the other 10 dudes, then you can go and worry about your single role and everyone else does their part. And now you have an 11-to-1 ratio that is successful and not having any mistakes. So yeah, it is humongous. It's a huge confidence boost.
That's powerful. That 11-to-1 ratio, that's powerful, man. To think about it that way. And it's exactly what happened 2021, probably halfway through 2022 is these guys were all learning something new, and the Lions are bringing in their draft, class, and they were immediately on the field playing a lot of snaps, a lot of them starting because we didn't have a full roster. We had to play everybody. And so Alex Anzalone, when he joined the team, you could tell in his first maybe half of the season, a lot of issues. And when when the Lions fired Aubrey Pleasant, a lot of those issues started to go away. And the problem is Aubrey Pleasant was doing things kind of rogue, and having the DBs doing something totally different than what the rest of the team was doing. And that was obviously causing a lot of confusion. So you saw a different Alex Anzalone the next game that Aubrey Pleasant wasn't with the team. Best defense that we had that season to date, back then, not now. But you could tell a difference. Alex couldn't play with his hair on fire because he was constantly doing this. Like, where's everybody at? They're not lined up right. He's having to make calls, trying to get guys lined up. And then the ball snapped, and then his head's on a swivel, and he's trying to do 2 or 3 things as opposed to just one. So this is huge where, DJ said the exact same thing that you just said. It's, he doesn't have to worry. The continuity's there. The team chemistry is there. But man, that 11-to-1 ratio, I'm going to park that one. I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. That's
And
good.
something to add to that real quick is, everyone wanted a first round, and in the chat, they're talking about if we would have drafted a first round edge, right, then we are going to be paying him as a first round edge. And then you have to worry about Aiden, right? And who do you pay and how does that work out? But my other thing is, you bring in a first round edge, guess what? Everyone wants to see that edge play, but he doesn't fit the continuity of the rest of the team, right?
Yeah.
He isn't Marcus Davenport. He hasn't been a member of the team for multiple years and understand the scheme and understand the expectations of Kelvin Shepherd, right? He would be learning a whole new scheme. And like I've said before, every NFL rookie has a learning curve, whether you're a first rounder or a sixth rounder, whether you came from the SEC or the Mountain West, you have to get adjusted to the speed, techniques, and schemes of the NFL. These are better football players. And so if you got a first round draft pick and you're throwing him out there to the Wolves, right? And he's playing on the edge and he doesn't, produce, are you going to chalk that up to lack of experience? Are you going to chalk that up to the learning curve? Or did Brad make a bad decision? Right.
Right.
There's so many variables that come with this that, what DJ's saying probably isn't the case if you draft a first round edge, because now all of a sudden you're inputting a new guy. Think about the Falcons who drafted 2 brand new edges, right? How can they realistically expect those guys to come in and perform as first round draft picks and produce as first round draft picks when they're trying to learn the NFL game? It's just not a realistic expectation. And so I think there's a method to Brad's madness, and that's re-signing guys, bringing back guys, and developing guys in their own timing.
So to your point there, those edge, if they do both start, now you don't have a veteran presence there that understands the nuances of what the quarterback's doing or the nuances of what the offensive line may be doing because they haven't seen it before. It's a different level. There's levels upon levels in the NFL, just like there is in college. But I've said this analogy before too. When you're a wide receiver entering the league and you're going up, against the best corner in the SEC, well, guess what? That best corner in the SEC is now the worst corner in the NFL. The level of the game is so much higher. And to your speed point, yeah, that's why the second year is usually the biggest jump for these guys. There's something else I was going to just throw in there real quick, but now it's escaping me.
I got an example for you.
Sure.
And this is something that is, a little bit outside of it, but when Ahmed was having his amazing junior year breakout season, he had 12.5 sacks, was killing the game. They went and they played in a bowl game down in LA, the LA Bowl, and he played against UCLA. And at the time, UCLA's offensive coordinator was Chip Kelly. Okay. You don't think Chip Kelly knew that my brother was a raw prospect? My guy put him in option situations time and time again. And no matter what the decision was that my brother made, it was always going to be the wrong one. He had schemed it up. If you don't think offensive coordinators in the NFL are thinking the same thing when they see a rookie defensive end out there, I don't care if he's a first round draft pick. They go, this guy's young. He's vulnerable. Here's how we're going to manipulate him. And obviously, right, it's different when you got a raw prospect from Egypt and has only been playing for 5 years, but that learning curve and that variable is still the same when you get to the NFL. These coaches know what they're doing, and they know how to find weaknesses in players and schemes and techniques. And so, they will put guys in a bind, and it makes being successful extremely difficult, when you're a young guy just trying to get accustomed to the speed of the league and stuff. And like you're saying, you went from being the best to the worst. Again, you're constantly being, back on the bottom of the totem pole. So it's like, that is a extremely hard, mountain to climb when you're trying to learn and produce at the top level. So it's
good stuff. So the thing that I was going to add to that is, and a lot of fans won't agree with me, but there's a difference with what I'm about to say from how you view it. Aiden Hutchinson in his rookie year had a great rookie year on the surface of things, right? Was this statistical thing was good, right? But if you go and watch the film, you'll see how many plays he missed. You'll see how many times he was out of alignment, how many times he missed his assignment. The details weren't polished. Now, 3 years later, a lot of that stuff has been cleaned up. So even though he was number 2 overall, in the first round, and he's up on the line immediately starting. Well, the Lions had to start him. It's not like they had somebody else that they could put in. So when he made his mistakes, and he had to learn from it. But he learned fairly quickly and wasn't really making a lot of the same mistakes other than one, constantly getting too deep and getting, too outside of his details that were allowing a lot of, rush yards by the quarterback. So to your point, first round pick, 7th round pick, you're starting over. And these offensive coordinators are going to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter who you are. All right, let's continue on with DJ here. Are you good on time?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Rehab.
Yeah.
Is there something specific you go work on this summer, or do you go back to the routine you had the previous year when you weren't rehab?
It was probably like my healthiest offseason in a minute.
Question was something about rehab there, going back to, I couldn't really hear it fully. Is there anything that he was going back to prior to rehab or after rehab? I couldn't understand it fully, but we'll hear what DJ says.
I haven't had to get cut open or anything happen, so I think just sticking to the routine of just working. I think I go, like you said, I go to the couple off seasons when I was healthy, knowing that I can explore a couple of different things this year with being healthy. When you're like in that rehab phase, you're just rushing back. Like you're just focused on the rehab and what that may be to get you back playing and how hard that is, that grind is. But when you got an off season, you really get to like explore yourself, learn a lot more about yourself, figure new things out. I think in this league and every other professional sports, even in business or like just life, you got like old dogs got to learn new tricks. Like you might have your routine, but you got to learn something new to figure it out to, stay around. So I think that's what you do.
Okay, so Corey, he just mentioned something that, I thought about with Aiden here. He said, when you're coming back from an injury and you're doing your rehab, you're just trying to rush back to get back to the field. And do you see that being an issue for Aiden where he's just going to rush himself back and maybe try to put himself back into the position that he was, playing as good as he was? Do you feel this maybe being a detractor, to his season, or I don't know. I guess I think his history in the league already. He's got time in the league. He's not a young guy anymore in the league. So how do you feel like what DJ just said would potentially be an issue for Aiden?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's as much of a thing for Aiden. And I don't want to speculate based on his injury, but as a coach and as a player, I'd be more concerned with like, a bad knee or a, like any of those like soft tissue injuries, any tendons, ligaments, those types of things. A broken bone, and anyone who's had a broken bone knows that, yeah, it sucks. Like rehab sucks. Right. You lose some muscle, like definition and things like that, some strength. But when it comes back, it's a fairly like confident feeling that it's back to full strength. I don't, with a knee injury and tendons and things, you'll see players that, they never have the same confidence. They're scared to stick. They're scared to, put as much pressure on that knee or whatever. And I think, the nature of Aiden's injury being broken bones, I don't know if that's gonna be as much of a detriment to his confidence as and his recovery as it would be if it was a soft tissue injury or a knee injury or something like that. I think he's gonna come back hungry and pretty much like his old self, confidence wise. Personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The other thing that I wanted to throw out, and I heard this so I had a conversation with my ortho yesterday because I have to get hip replacement, and I was of course asking him questions about Aiden. And I said, hey, he's got this dark sleeve on his left leg. Why does he have that? Well, one, the compression obviously helps your muscles. It helps with blood flow and constant, rehab, right? You want to make sure you get the blood flow in there. But he also said oftentimes guys wear those, whether it's arm or leg, because they've lost so much muscle definition that the black sleeve hides that. So if you're not trying to broadcast that to the rest of the league, especially during open, parts of the media, it'll hide the fact that he's lost some muscle in that leg, and you don't want teams to try to, cook up an advantage. So I found that interesting. I have another conversation with him today, so I want to follow up on that, but I found that interesting. All right, here we go.
Aleem is in that rehab phase now. I assume you've been in touch with him. Just can you give us an update on his spirits and maybe where he
update
is
on
in his
Aiden.
rehab process?
Spirits are high, man. He's working hard. That's really all I can give you. He's in the locker room all the time. We get to talk to him, mess with him. So he's been around the guys. Guys keeping him uplifted. We got a very active group chat in the D-line. So everybody's in there. He's talking back. We're talking back. We mess around a lot as a group. We're pretty close-knit. So he's working hard. From what I see, he looks really, really good. And he's very happy. We got a lot of money. Kind of hard to be upset. But, he's super happy, man, and just, working his ass off to get back. Sorry. Yeah, but working hard to get back.
Was that an update on Aiden or an update on Aleem? Did you catch it, Corey?
I think he's talking about Aiden. Yeah, coming back and working hard, and I believe that's what he was talking about.
Well, whether it's Aleem or whether it's Aiden, I think you could probably transpose either of them. It would probably work for both, honestly.
Yeah,
They
seriously.
both got a lot of money. All right.
Were there elements of his game playing next to him that you came to appreciate that maybe you weren't able to appreciate from afar?
I think, before I got here, I only, you don't get to see him. You don't know the player. You don't know the ins and outs. I think just growing beside him over and over, watching how hard he worked, how much, you can find guys who duck blocks, might not play the run the same way they play the pass, might not get after it that way, but he's a guy who gets after it in all ways. And whatever way we're asking to rush, whether that be power or use some speed, some athleticism, he gets it done. So I think that, and also super humble. You know what I'm saying? You don't find that as a lot of places, and it's really cool to be around him and watching him grow into, the star he's going to be, and just watch it. Just watch how special he's going to be, how much he gets out there, how much he cares. And, it's fun. It's cool because he's a very laid-back guy off the field, but he really, really enjoys ball.
You said something last year when you first got here that kind of stuck with me about.
So I missed that one, too. Was he talking about Tyleek?
I don't think so. I think the first one was about Aleem because he referenced getting paid.
Yeah.
And we know that Aleem got paid. So I think he's saying he's a laid back dude and humble and works hard. So yeah, I think that was Aleem, and I don't know.
I'm going to rewind it. I'm going to rewind it for a sec. I want to
Be power, use some speed, some athleticism, he gets it done. So I think that, and also super humble. You know what I'm saying? You don't always, and whatever much, you can, before I got here, I only, yeah.
Before he got hurt, were there elements?
He's super
All right, here we
happy,
go.
man, and just, working his ass off to get back. Sorry. Yeah, but working hard to get back.
Obviously at a really high level last
Yeah.
year before he got hurt. Were there elements of his game playing next to him that you came to appreciate?
Yeah, so was
that
Aleem.
You weren't able to appreciate from afar?
I think, before I got here, I only, you don't get to see him. You don't know the player. You don't know the ins and outs. I think just growing beside him over and over, watching how hard he worked, how much, you can find guys who duck blocks, might not play the run the same way they play the pass, might not get after it that way, but he's a guy who gets after it in all ways. And whatever way we're asking to rush, whether that be power or use some speed, some athleticism, he gets it done. So I think that, and also super humble. You know what I'm saying? You don't find that as a lot of places, and it's really cool to be around him and watching him grow into the star he's going to be, and just watch it. Just watch how special he's going to be, how much he gets out there, how much he cares. And, it's fun. It's cool because he's a very laid-back guy off the field, but he really, really enjoys ball.
You said something last year when you first got here that kind
So that was about Aleem. The question was playing next to Aleem. Was there anything that he viewed, I guess, from afar before coming to Detroit, or what did he learn playing next to him? So good statement.
of stuck with me about don't let anybody define the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
The contract you signed was kind of a feel you out process. One year, the second year wasn't guaranteed. To deliver, to get that second year picked up, was that validating for you in any way?
For me, nah, just the team winning was validating, honestly. Again, that quote is me through and through. I will never let y'all or anybody else tell me what I feel about myself. I'm probably my biggest critic when it comes to ball and just being, you know, a man in its own. So I don't fall into that category of just reading or listening to what the outside noise is. I feel like I put my best foot forward last year, and going into the offseason, I was just happy to be healthy. I was sad where we ended up. I wasn't thinking about that contract. If it got picked up, if it didn't, I was just like, whatever. You know, I thought I put my best tape on film, felt like I had a good year.
Did you want to hear about recently or this offseason, have you reached out or offered any support to Trey Hendrickson regarding what he's going through and things going on with him in this offseason?
We're in a group chat. So I'm still in a group chat with like Trey, Sam, and yeah. So I'm still in a group chat with Trey, Sam, and BJ, and we heckle. Josh Tupow's in there too. We heckle. We give a hard time. It's been a little quieter because, he's dealing with that, and you want to give him space to deal with that however he wishes to. But I always, just supportive. I think everybody should get paid what they want to get paid. Everybody's got opinions on what they want to get paid, and if that's what you want, you got to go after it. He's a good player. He plays really, really hard, led the league in sacks last year, so I'm sure he's looking at things a certain way and wants to get that money, and they're looking at it on their end and don't want to pay it. So, I'm sure it'll work itself out.
There are a lot of players that get to your point in their career.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on. I missed this the first time I watched it. Why did we ask a question about Trey Hendrickson in the Detroit Lions media availability? I get it that he has a relationship with Trey, but I'm just trying to grasp why we even asked the question. I didn't hear who even asked it, but that just kind of threw me for a loop there. There was nothing tied to, maybe if it was tied to Alex Anzalone, then I could understand maybe why it was being asked, but I think this is prior to the whole Alex issue, so I guess that would make sense. But any idea why we would ask? You're muted, but
yeah,
I think you said no.
I do not know. I didn't catch it. I'm having a hard time staying with where you're at and with it, so I don't know exactly where we were at. But
so he just, whoever it was, just asked the question. I think it was, have you communicated with Trey Hendrickson at all about what's going on with his contract extension? And then, of course, he answered the question as best as he could. I think he didn't even PC it. I mean, he answered it. So kudos to the DJ. All right, we'll get back into the rest of this video. It's not much longer.
Have a routine, they do it away from the facility. Why is it important for you to be here during the voluntary program?
One, I got a workout bonus, so I'm not in the interest of giving money back. Two, we got a new D coordinator, even though Shep was here last year, we're just a new D coordinator, new D line coach. I will say it's a little, when you're old like me or a little bit older, your routine is a little bit slower. I got a little bit more time throughout the day, so it is a little rush for me doing all this in 4 hours. But honestly, I just think it's important when you got new things and new people around, just for them to see your face. I'm not saying you got to be here every day doing it, but for them to see your face, know who you are. That first time, if you want to just show up, OTA or in the OTAs and whatever, and the mandatory part, it's kind of hard for that coach to get to know you. He doesn't know you, and then you're trying to grow a relationship during camp, which is, it's tough. Especially, if you're on the bubble, you should be here. You should probably be here. And I'm not saying you can't, because if you got all those things in place, you got your rehab facility, you got this and the third, and this is, if we're being honest, this is the only place I can go where I don't got to pay for all that extra stuff. I don't got to pay for you to train me. I don't got to pay for PT. All is here. So I can just pull up and be here and spend as much time as I want to. So I get to that point in the off season where I get a little tired of paying people for it and just get to get back to my team.
When you saw that they had brought Levi back for this year, it seemed like he took a big step last year, but it seems like.
Okay, before I go into the last 2 minutes here, I thought this was great. He was asked about being at OTAs and how important it was to be at OTAs. And I think he gave a really good, succinct answer that, kind of twofold. One, he hates paying for outside, PT and outside sources to have to train him. And look, we're not talking about a $20 membership at Planet Fitness, people. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands to go work with some of the best and the most elite trainers that train these guys and the facilities that they go to with the rehab equipment and everything else from, hydrotherapy to, everything that you can think of that these guys are doing. So I love that answer. One, the guy's making millions of dollars and he just doesn't want to spend that money on outside sources. He wants to be with his team and utilize the facilities, world-class facilities that the Lions have. But then he gave an answer of why else you should be at OTAs. If you're on the bubble, you better be here, right? And then he just said, well, you just better be here. No matter what, everyone should just be here. No, this was not a shot at Alex Anzalone before somebody runs away with it and tries to say it was a shot at Alex. I don't think so. I haven't seen anything printed yet, but I don't read everything either. So I hope that no one takes that the wrong way. I think what he was just saying is, for the rookies, obviously you need to be here, but obviously the bubble guys need to be there. As a veteran, you need to be there. But if you have everything set up outside and you are a veteran and you've been a part of this team for a little bit, it's still good to even go learn, what your new coaches are all about, as opposed to trying to learn that relationship just at camp. And so for Casey Rogers and some of the other guys that have joined this team, I can see where that's very valuable. What is your take on what he was saying there?
Yeah, I think that goes with the cohesion aspect. It's like you want your guys around to know that we're all going through it together, and anything that you can learn, and it's like those team building exercises, right? That your company would take you to do, and you're doing a ropes course or you're doing whatever. It's like we're all going through it together, and the more time and activities you can spend together, the closer you're going to feel, and the more you're going to be able to feel like you can depend on the guy next to you. And anytime you have coaching changes, I think it's important to build that relationship. He said it's, if you're not doing it in OTAs, you're trying to do it in training camp, and that's not the time to try and figure out what's expected of you. You should probably already know that going into the prep for the season. So I think it's I couldn't imagine why anyone wouldn't want to be, unless they have like some prior things. We know Myles Garrett is in Tokyo with his girlfriend. So that's interesting. I guess when you get paid $40 million and you play for the Cleveland Browns, you don't want to be at OTAs. So, yeah.
I would assume that probably was cleared ahead of time,
Sure.
Just like for some of the lines. Like, I'm sure that they have stuff that has been cleared ahead of time. In Alex Anzalone's case, I'm sure that he had something else going on before this. Amon-Ra St. Brown had something else going on before this. Obviously, you want to have all the guys in camp at some point, or OTA. Well, camp, they'll be there, but OTAs that are, not mandatory. It's still good to make a presence, right? So that the rest of the team knows, hey, these guys care. They're going to put in the same work that we are. DJ is the leader right now of the interior defensive line group. And so he's got to be there. And I think his approach is exactly why he's the Detroit Lion, is making sure. I forgot to do something. I got to thank somebody real quick. So Carl Rittenberg joined the Lions Faithful today. So I appreciate you joining and being part of the Lions Faithful, man. Really appreciate everyone that is a member of the channel. We've got a ton of members, and there's going to be some slight changes to the elite level. I'll put out a message later on today, but there's going to be some slight changes to it moving forward. We're going to do something a little bit different, and then there's going to be a new platform for the members. But anyway, I just wanted to say a quick thank you, and let me give you a quick jingle here.
With the 18th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa.
Okay, so just as your Detroit Lions get the little draft jingle when you join and become a member, now you're going to get a jingle, right? I just don't have anything queued up for your name. All right, we've got 2 minutes left. Actually, 1 minute left on DJ Reader, and then we're going to wrap it up. You still good on time?
Yep.
Okay.
There's another level for him there, too. Your expectations for him going forward.
Yeah, I love Levi, man. He's like that little brother I didn't want growing up. But I got him, and, I love him. We give each other a hard time. He's a really, really good player, though. And he's the prime example of our room of guys who just band together and willing and really, really like ball. We're going to go out there and compete for each other, not just for ourselves, but really, really, truly for each other, to not let each other down. And I think that's the unique part about our room. And the unique part about him is, he's like our hype man. Levi, Levi's got all the sayings, everything we need, every piece of warrior mentality we need to go into battle. He's got it.
You brought up Shep's name. You know, he was here the last couple of years. You were here last year. I mean, 30-something-year-old guy getting this type of opportunity. What kind of energy has he brought to the room as a guy who was just playing in the league a few years ago?
Great, man. Shep's a really, really smart dude. And he also, like, he's not far removed from those seats that we were in. So the way he explains it to us, and he explains it to you at the level you're at. Like, you know what I mean? You don't got to know all the fancy words and this and the third to know how to play defense in this league or anything. But he gives you a way to remember the formula. That way you can go out there and you can put the formula in play and play. So he's done a really good job. He used to be a little bit of a yeller last year. I'm sure it'll come back a little bit, but he's just Shep, man. And, you know, being a guy who's played in this league and who's played hard and understands what's going on, especially with, like, the newer style of what ball is. It's been good to see him talk to the young guys, how he blends with them, how he messes with them, and he's growing confidence in a lot of guys in the room right now.
Okay. Look, I got to give the dude some claps because what he has just given us is some great insight into this team. The last few bits there, talking about the continuity of this defense and how they play for each other. It's not just going to work for yourself, but literally going to work for the guys next to you. That's exactly what this team needs to be able to ride all of the ebbs and the flows throughout a season. That it's going to carry injuries. It's going to be, you know, nicks and cuts, you know, throughout the season. These guys are going to be banged up, but they know that when they look left and they look right, that they've got someone that's going to help carry them and you know, play just as hard as they are to finish the job. And so I loved everything that he said. I'm glad that the Lions are giving these guys a little bit of light here to kind of show us a little bit more of who they are. DJ's just such a calm demeanor, right? But don't forget what he does on the field. The guy's nasty in the middle of a defense, man, eating up blocks. Love the warrior mentality that he said, talking about Levi Onwuzurike being the kind of the glue guy, you know, talking about all the different sayings he said that he has, all the different warrior sayings or whatever. But Warrior Thread, don't forget about the merch, man. It's the store, www.warriorthread.com. Visit it today. I'll put up some new t-shirts and stuff soon, but check it out. There's a few things in there you might like, especially the FTB shirts. We're going to probably do an FTP and an FTV as well. We're gonna just blanket the whole NFC North in t-shirts. So overall thoughts on DJ Reader?
Yeah, I thought it was a great interview. He seems like a really smart dude, and yeah, I love when, you know, they're gentle giants off the field, and then when they get on the field, they're just beasts. That's my favorite type of player. That's what my brother is, and yeah, it's always cool to see a little bit behind the curtain and what they're like as men off of the field. So looking forward to watching him play. I can't tell you I know a ton of his, you know, I've seen a ton of his snaps, but I'll definitely be watching him this year. So
yeah, he's the glue this year, man. Levi, I think he's going to capitalize on what he did last year. He had a great season. He's on a 1-year prove it kind of deal. But man, he was the top 16 in the league getting after the quarterback. You know, earlier when I was talking about TJ Sanders, and there's, you know, two different styles of a defensive tackle. You have a pass rushing defensive tackle, and then you have a guy like Tyleik Williams, who largely wasn't known as a pass rushing defensive tackle the last couple of seasons because of what he did his first year. It was great. Getting after the quarterback at like 5.5 sacks. And then after that, he was asked to do something different. And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is, you know, each of these guys is asked to do something a little bit different, and it may not be what they've done in college. It may be different, and you may see a different, you know, play style out of them. So don't poo-poo the guys when, yeah, maybe they're not getting a bunch of sacks, but they may not be asked to do that. They may be asked, you know, to play cleanup duty if they get a shot, but more important is just to hold down your assignment. So Corey, on the way out today, could you just give us 30 to 40 seconds here on what it means to play within your assignment in your detail? You may be the best pass rusher in the league, right? But in a given game, you might be given a different assignment. So you may not get after the quarterback a whole lot. Why is that?
Yeah, I think football is a unique sport in which you get to game plan ahead of the game, right? It's not like basketball where you're calling plays off of timeouts. You've got an idea of how you want to attack a team offensively and defensively before you even go into the game. And so there may be times where you are the center of attention. I know you watched my highlight film yesterday, and I don't know if you noticed, but like there was one game where I had 10 catches, 150 yards, and a touchdown. And that was like half the film, right? That week going into it, I knew that was going to be it, that I was going to have a game because of the way that they were scheming up against me and how they were leaving a linebacker to come and chase me around. And so I knew going into it that my role was going to be increased that game. Now, I was also the third wide receiver, in 3 receiver sets. So there was a ton of games where I was not on the field a ton and maybe, averaging 3 or 4 catches a game. And specifically in the role of the security blanket for my quarterback and averaging, a first down, but maybe not scoring all the touchdowns. When you realize that you're part of a bigger equation, when you realize you're just part of the bigger whole, and if you handle your business and everyone else handles theirs, then we are successful. Like DJ was saying, he's like, at the end of the day, I just want to win a Super Bowl, man. And if I can do my part to get us to that mountaintop, then it doesn't really matter how much of the weight you were carrying or what your role was or where you were in line, because we're all going to be standing at the top of the mountain together, right? And we're all going to be celebrating together. And so, there will be games where, right, teams are going to definitely scheme against Aiden Hutchinson, especially if he's on pace, to do what he did last year in the short amount of time he was healthy. And so, and that's going to open up opportunities for other guys, right? Jack Campbell coming off, his second year, he's going into his third year. We expect growth and stuff. But maybe it's not going to be the way you think. Maybe it's going to be in more pass protection and he's not going to have the stats to show it, but it's going to be evident to watching him play. And so, it take everything with a grain of salt, including PFF numbers, including stats. Watch the game holistically and look at how the parts work together to really get a better understanding of value for individual players and overall schemes and fits. Because the stats and the data don't always show what is actually happening on the field. And there are, like we talked about, the variability of football. Things change on a week-to-week basis. And sometimes if a guy goes down, you're going to be asked to step into a role that you weren't maybe specifically doing prior. And how that changes, your production and things like that doesn't necessarily mean that your value diminishes. So, it is very important to understand that, there are levels to this and not everything shows up on the box score.
1,000%, man. Each game you're asked to do something that could be a little bit different from what you were asked to do before, specifically, like Tyleik Williams' case. And the reason why I brought that up is because, the SOL fans that only want defensive ends and pass rushers, you look at the defensive tackle position, and Tyleik has the ability to get after the quarterback, and he's proven that. But at 327 pounds, you don't necessarily think that it's a guy that's going to get after the quarterback. He's got a different opportunity than what DJ Reader has presented, and I think it's going to be fun to watch the interior pass rush do its thing. And like I've always said, and like I was expecting or hoping that Brad would do, is build the interior first, before he added any more pieces, because without an interior defensive line, it doesn't matter who you have on the outside. You're going to get beat all day. And the Lions have built depth. They've built a team that's, full of continuity. And I think it's just going to be fun to watch it grow over the next couple of seasons. But I think this year we're going to see a lot come together. Good show today, man. A lot of good topics, a lot of good discussion. And we'll have more tomorrow. So appreciate everyone for joining us today and being part of the Rockhound Detroit Lions and your Rise and Grind morning show. If you have any topics you would like discussed, any content that you would like done, just email me at mailbag@rockdown.com. We'll be sure to try to get it done for you guys or add it to the morning show. And other than that, I really don't even have 30 seconds today. I think that we've covered a lot. It's been a good day.
We almost did 3 hours, just 2 of us. Can you imagine?
I do
if
it all
there
the
were more
time.
of us? Oh my goodness.
You'll see. It's your first week, so I don't want to take this out any further, but did you feel it? Did you feel it after the first week?
No, I think I'm adjusting. I could talk football. I could talk forever, man. I swear, talking doesn't even. It's the waking up part, but this keeps me up and going, man. I enjoy it and I appreciate it. So I'm happy to be here, and I know the rest of the people are too. And my mom's in here every morning, and she's an hour behind me. So
that's craziness. But yeah, it's look, we're blessed to have you with us. So I appreciate you doing it. And 5 a.m. It doesn't come any later every day. So it's tough, but all right, y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys later. Corey, I'll see you in just a few seconds, but we'll see you guys back here tomorrow on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Please like, share, subscribe, do the thing that I never ask anybody to do. We need it. We love you all for being a part of it. And, we're part of the truth serum. It's the truth, the transparency, and the honesty as independent media. It's part of the fabric of our democracy. And I'm not going to go into a political thing, but part of the checks and balances is having independent media, right? And we don't have to answer to the narratives. We can do what we want. We answer to ourselves. And we try to do that with truth, honesty, and transparency every day. So it's different. It's different because in my view, I think it's better than in not having to answer to what ESPN wants us to do or PFF wants us to do, or you know what I'm saying? So like, share, subscribe, be part of the movement. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
God bless.
See you guys.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future.